Have you ever spent hours thinking about one decision, only to end up doing nothing? You replay every scenario in your head, imagine every worst-case outcome, and tell yourself you'll act when you feel more certain. But certainty never comes. Instead, time passes, opportunities slip away, and you're left with the heavy weight of regret. Overthinking is not wisdom. It's a trap. It gives you the illusion of control while silently stealing your energy, clarity, and confidence. The truth is, most people don't fail because they made the wrong choice. They fail because they made no choice at all. Now imagine the opposite, a life where you act decisively, move forward without fear, and trust yourself enough to learn and adjust along the way. A life where you spend less time doubting and more time doing. That's the life this audiobook is here to build with you. This is not about reckless decisions. It's about learning to clear the noise in your head, simplify your thoughts, and take smarter actions. Actions that move you forward instead of keeping you stuck. Because the only way to stop overthinking is to start living. The question is, are you ready to let go of endless what-ifs and finally take action? Chapter 1. The Trap of Overthinking. Overthinking begins as a quiet whisper in the back of your mind, a small thought that says, "What if this goes wrong?" At first it feels harmless, even useful, because you believe you're preparing yourself. But slowly, the thought multiplies, taking root and spreading like vines around your decisions. What should have been a simple yes or no becomes an endless maze of possibilities. By the time you think you're ready to act, the moment has already passed, and all that's left is regret. The trap of overthinking is not that it makes you cautious. Caution is healthy. The trap is that it convinces you that thinking more will guarantee safety. But the truth is, no amount of mental rehearsal will ever shield you from uncertainty. Life does not wait for you to calculate every angle. Opportunities do not pause until you feel ready. The longer you sit in your head, the more life slips through your fingers, reminding you that hesitation is just another form of fear. Many people confuse overthinking with intelligence, but they are not the same. Intelligence solves problems. Overthinking creates them. Intelligence takes information and moves forward. Overthinking takes the same information and circles it endlessly. The cleverest minds often fall victim to this trap because their ability to imagine every scenario becomes the very prison that locks them in place. Clarity is not born from thinking endlessly, but from knowing when to stop. Overthinking doesn't only delay your choices, it drains your energy. You may sit in silence for hours, wrestling with your own mind, and by the time you stand up, you feel exhausted without having moved an inch. Your brain has been running at full speed, yet you've gone nowhere. This invisible fatigue is dangerous because it steals your willpower for real challenges. What could have been spent on action is wasted on mental loops, leaving you weaker with nothing accomplished. Think about how many times you've replayed conversations in your head, crafting the perfect response long after the moment has passed. Or how often you've delayed sending a message because you weren't sure how it might be received. These small acts may seem trivial, but added together, they form a life pattern of hesitation. Each time you overthink, you're teaching your mind that it is better to avoid than to live, better to pause than to risk. And slowly, this becomes who you are. The cruelest part of overthinking is that it feels productive. You tell yourself, "I'm preparing, I'm planning, I'm being smart." But in reality, you're stuck in an illusion of progress. It's like sitting in a rocking chair. You move back and forth, but you don't go anywhere. Overthinking is the thief that disguises itself as preparation. And unless you learn to recognize this disguise, you'll spend years mistaking paralysis for wisdom. Fear is the fuel of overthinking. The fear of being wrong, of being judged, of failing, of looking foolish. Each fear whispers a different warning, and together they create noise so loud you can't hear your own heart. You begin to live not by what excites you, but by what you fear losing. The trap here is not just mental, it becomes emotional. Overthinking chains you to the approval of others, making you a prisoner of imagined criticisms that may never even come. Overthinking also magnifies problems that were never big to begin with. A simple task, like making a phone call or starting a project, turns into a mountain in your mind. You analyze every detail, consider every possible mistake, and suddenly, what could have been done in minutes now feels overwhelming. The longer you wait, the bigger the shadow grows, until you convince yourself it's impossible. But the task didn't change, only your thoughts did. This is the illusion of the trap. In relationships, overthinking is poison. You replay words, question intentions, and assume meanings that may not even exist. A missed call becomes rejection. A short text becomes anger. You begin to write stories in your mind that have no basis in reality, but feel so convincing that they shape your emotions. And then you react, not to what's real, but to what you've created in your head. The trap doesn't just harm you, it harms the people you care about. Overthinking thrives in silence. When your body is still but your mind is racing, the quiet room becomes a battlefield. You lie awake at night, your thoughts looping endlessly, and sleep slips further away. The body begs for rest, but the mind refuses. This cycle is brutal, because the less you rest, the weaker your self-control becomes, and the easier it is for overthinking to dominate again tomorrow. It's not just a mental trap, it's a physical one. Chapter 2. Why clarity beats complexity. Clarity is one of the most powerful forces in life, yet it is often underestimated. Most people chase complexity, believing that the more detailed their plan, the more control they'll have. But complexity often clouds judgment, slows decisions, and breeds confusion. Clarity, on the other hand, cuts through the noise. It gives direction in the midst of chaos. It allows you to see what truly matters and act on it without hesitation. When you lack clarity, every option feels overwhelming. You find yourself juggling multiple priorities, unsure of which one deserves your time. Complexity tempts you into thinking you can handle everything at once, but in truth, it divides your focus and weakens your progress. Clarity demands you strip away the unnecessary, narrowing your attention to what will actually move you forward. Simplicity is not weakness. It is concentrated strength. Complexity thrives on detail, while clarity thrives on essence. For example, in communication, the more words you use, the more room there is for misunderstanding. But when you speak with clarity, your message is sharp, concise, and impossible to misinterpret. The same applies to life choices. The more complicated your reasoning, the easier it is to justify hesitation. Clarity makes choices simple. Either this serves you or it doesn't. Think about leaders who inspire millions. They don't do it with complex jargon or endless explanations. They do it with clarity of vision. A clear purpose resonates deeper than 1,000 strategies because people crave direction more than detail. When your life is guided by clarity, you inspire not only yourself, but also those around you. You become a source of certainty in a world addicted to complication. Clarity is freedom. It frees you from the heavy weight of over-analysis. Complexity makes you feel trapped because you believe you must know everything before moving forward. But clarity tells you, here is the next step. Take it. That single step brings relief, momentum, and confidence. Even if the full path isn't visible, clarity assures you that progress begins by moving, not by waiting for a perfect map. The trap of complexity is that it pretends to be wisdom. People often admire complicated ideas, mistaking them for depth. But true wisdom lies in simplicity, the ability to express profound truths in the fewest words. A complex solution that no one understands solves nothing. A clear solution that everyone can follow changes lives. The real genius is not in complicating, but in clarifying. Clarity also saves time. When you know what matters, you stop wasting energy on what doesn't. Complexity multiplies decisions unnecessarily. For instance, instead of deciding once, you revisit the same issue again and again, adding layers of what if. Clarity strips away the noise, allowing you to decide once and move on. That is how progress accelerates, not by thinking harder, but by thinking simpler. Consider how athletes perform under pressure. They don't clutter their minds with endless possibilities in the middle of competition. They focus on one clear objective: score, win, deliver. The same is true in daily life. Complexity scatters your focus. Clarity channels it into precision. A clear mind under stress outperforms a cluttered one, no matter how talented. Clarity is the ultimate competitive advantage. Complexity often comes from fear. You create detailed scenarios to avoid making a mistake, layering explanation upon explanation until you paralyze yourself. Clarity, however, embraces imperfection. It tells you, even if I make a mistake, I will adjust. That freedom dissolves fear. You don't need to have every answer. You only need the clarity to begin and the courage to continue. Clarity brings peace. Complexity creates chaos, not just in your mind, but in your emotions. When you complicate everything, your stress multiplies. You worry about factors outside your control, and your heart feels heavy with unnecessary weight. Clarity lightens that load. It reminds you of what's essential and silences the rest. A calm mind is not one that thinks of nothing, but one that thinks of only what matters. Clarity in goals is what separates dreamers from achievers. A dreamer says, "I want to be successful." That's vague, complex, and endless. An achiever says, "I want to reach this milestone by this time." That's clarity. One leaves you spinning in possibilities, the other drives you to concrete action. The clearer your goals, the sharper your actions. Complexity only delays, clarity directs. Clarity also simplifies relationships. When you're clear about your boundaries, your needs, and your values, you communicate them directly. Misunderstandings shrink, respect grows, and trust strengthens. Complexity in relationships comes from hidden expectations, unspoken feelings, and assumed intentions. Clarity replaces all of that with honesty. When you're clear, others don't have to guess who you are or what you stand for. Simplicity is not the absence of detail, it's the presence of focus. A clear plan still has depth, but it doesn't drown you in distractions. For instance, writing down your top 3 priorities for the day gives you more power than creating a 20-item to-do list. Complexity tempts you to believe more is better. Clarity shows you less, done with focus, is unbeatable. Clarity empowers decision-making. A complex mind delays because it wants to evaluate every possibility. A clear mind decides faster, not because it knows everything, but because it knows enough. You don't need infinite data to act. You need clarity about what aligns with your values and goals. Complexity leaves you chasing perfect information. Clarity reminds you that perfection is an illusion, but progress is real. Think of clarity as a sharp knife cutting through a tangled rope. Complexity ties knots upon knots, making you feel stuck. Clarity doesn't untangle every thread. It slices through, freeing you immediately. That's the power of a clear decision. You don't need to analyze every angle when you can choose a direction and move. Action reveals more than analysis ever could. Clarity turns obstacles into challenges instead of dead ends. When you view life through a complicated lens, every setback feels massive. You exaggerate problems because your mind magnifies them. With clarity, you see obstacles as steps, not walls. You understand the difference between temporary difficulty and permanent defeat. Complexity drains courage. Clarity restores it. Even creativity thrives on clarity. Many think creativity comes from complexity, endless ideas, constant brainstorming. But true creativity requires focus. The best works of art, the most innovative solutions, emerge when the mind has clarity of purpose. Too many directions scatter inspiration. One clear vision channels it. Complexity wastes ideas. Clarity shapes them into reality. Clarity is also discipline. It requires the strength to say no to distractions. Complexity tempts you with more, while clarity teaches you to choose less but better. Every yes must be clear. Every no must be firm. Without clarity, you try to please everyone and accomplish nothing. With clarity, you accept that not everything deserves your energy. That's not selfishness, it's wisdom. Clarity is what allows you to live intentionally. Complexity makes you reactive, pulled by every demand, every possibility, every opinion. But clarity makes you proactive. You decide where your energy goes, what battles to fight, and what goals deserve your time. Life feels overwhelming when you live in complexity. It feels powerful when you live with clarity. Clarity transforms fear into courage. Complexity magnifies risk until you feel frozen. But clarity reduces risk to its essence. What matters most, and how do I protect it? With that sharp focus, even large fears shrink into manageable steps. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's the clarity to see what must be done, despite fear. Chapter 3. Recognizing the signs of mental loops. Mental loops are cycles of thought that trap you in the same patterns, replaying fears, doubts, or questions without resolution. They feel like progress because your mind is busy, but in truth, you're circling the same ground. Recognizing these loops is the first step toward breaking free. Most people don't even realize they're trapped until weeks, months, or even years have passed. Awareness is the key to freedom. One of the clearest signs of a mental loop is replaying past conversations. You lie awake at night, thinking about what you should have said or how differently you could have acted. The scene plays again and again like a broken record. Instead of learning and moving on, you get stuck in regret. That constant replay is not growth. It's a loop keeping you anchored to the past. Another sign is decision paralysis. You spend hours or even days weighing the same options, yet never move closer to a choice. Each time you think you've made progress, another doubt pulls you back. Instead of narrowing the path forward, you reopen the same questions. This creates the illusion of carefulness, but it's actually stagnation. True decisions simplify. Mental loops complicate endlessly. Mental loops often disguise themselves as preparation. You tell yourself, I'm just being thorough. But the reality is, you've thought about the same scenario so many times that no new insight emerges. You're not preparing anymore, you're delaying. If your thoughts feel repetitive and heavy rather than fresh and energizing, that's a signal you've entered a loop. Preparation ends with clarity. Loops end with exhaustion. Overanalysis is a subtle but powerful loop. You pick apart every detail, believing there's a hidden truth you're missing. Yet the more you analyze, the less confident you become. Analysis should lead to insight, but when it becomes endless, it circles back into doubt. If you find yourself searching for answers that never come, you're not discovering, you're looping. Worry is another form of mental looping. Instead of addressing a problem directly, you replay the worst possible outcomes over and over. The worry doesn't move you toward solutions. It just magnifies your fear. If your thoughts about a situation don't end with a plan, but instead circle back into anxiety, you're caught in a mental loop of worry. Loops also show up in procrastination. You think about what you need to do, analyze how best to do it, plan when you'll start, but never actually take the step. The task stays undone, but your mind keeps circling around it. This mental clutter drains energy twice, first by thinking about the task, then by carrying the guilt of not completing it. Recognizing this is critical because procrastination isn't laziness, it's looping. Perfectionism feeds mental loops. You rehearse every detail in your mind, convinced that if you plan enough, you'll get it right the first time. But because perfection is impossible, the loop never ends. Each time you feel ready, a new doubt arises, pulling you back into preparation. This cycle feels safe but is destructive because it replaces progress with endless mental rehearsal. Another common sign of looping is seeking constant reassurance. You ask the same question to friends, mentors, or family, hoping for a sense of certainty. Even when they answer, your mind doesn't accept it, so you ask again. This endless search for external validation is a loop in disguise. It traps you in dependence on others instead of building your own clarity. Self-criticism is one of the most destructive loops. You keep replaying mistakes in your head, convincing yourself you're unworthy, not capable, or destined to fail. The loop becomes a narrative you start believing. Instead of moving forward, you become your own jailer, replaying the same negative story that chains you to the past. Recognizing this loop is vital because self-criticism is rarely truth. It's a habit of thought. Rumination is another form of looping. It's the act of chewing on the same thought repeatedly without gaining new understanding. It often begins with something small, an awkward comment, a missed opportunity, but grows into hours of mental repetition. Rumination feels like reflection, but the difference is in the outcome. Reflection gives lessons, rumination gives exhaustion. Mental loops can also appear in relationships. You replay what someone meant by their words, dissect their tone, or assume hidden motives. Instead of communicating, you spiral in your mind. This not only harms your peace, but it damages trust, because you react not to reality, but to your imagined version of events. The loop steals connection by creating distance built on assumptions. A sign you're in a loop is when your thoughts feel circular instead of linear. Linear thinking moves you toward a conclusion. Circular thinking brings you back to the same point again and again. If you find yourself revisiting the same concerns without progress, you're not lacking information. You're caught in a loop. The way out isn't more thought, but breaking the cycle. Mental loops also manifest as what-if spirals. You imagine endless scenarios, each one more complicated than the last. What if this happens? What if that fails? The problem is, these scenarios often never occur, yet the energy spent imagining them drains you as if they were real. A mind stuck in what-ifs is not exploring possibilities, it's looping in fear. Another indicator of looping is when your inner dialogue grows louder but less helpful. Instead of guiding you, it nags, criticizes, and repeats the same doubts. You feel mentally busy, but not mentally clear. The thoughts don't bring new perspective. They recycle the same insecurities. When your inner voice becomes repetitive instead of constructive, it's a clear sign of a mental loop. Sometimes loops disguise themselves as motivation. You keep telling yourself, "I'll start when I feel ready," but readiness never comes. The loop convinces you that one more day of thinking will prepare you better, but it only pushes action further away. If motivation feels like endless waiting instead of forward movement, it's not motivation, it's looping. Dreaming without action is another loop. You imagine the life you want, the success you'll achieve, and the person you'll become. These visions excite you but remain in your head. Each time you dream, it feels real for a moment, but the absence of action turns it into a cycle of false satisfaction. Dreams should inspire, not replace effort. If they only repeat without action, you're looping. A mental loop often leaves you feeling drained rather than resolved. True thought brings clarity and lightness, while looping leaves you heavy and restless. If after long thinking sessions you feel tired but not closer to answers, you're likely stuck. Recognizing the emotional weight of loops helps you distinguish between useful thinking and mental traps. Loops often show up in moments of silence. When you're not distracted by work, noise, or people, the mind rushes in with repetitive thoughts. Instead of peace, silence becomes a stage for overthinking. If stillness doesn't calm you but triggers restlessness, it's likely because unrecognized loops are running in the background, demanding attention. Technology can also fuel loops. Social media, constant notifications, and endless comparisons keep your mind replaying what others have versus what you lack. You scroll, compare, and loop around the same feelings of inadequacy. Instead of breaking free, you reinforce the loop with each glance. Recognizing that your digital habits feed mental loops is the first step toward reclaiming peace. One way to recognize loops is to listen to how often you repeat yourself when talking to others. If you keep telling the same story, the same worry, or the same complaint without resolution, it's a sign your mind is circling. Healthy processing evolves. Looping stalls. The words you repeat outwardly mirror the loops running inwardly. Loops also appear as unfinished mental tasks. You think about doing something but never complete it, so the thought keeps returning. It nags you at random moments, during meals, before sleep, while working. Each return drains energy. The task itself may be small, but the loop of remembering, forgetting, and remembering again multiplies its weight. Regret is a major loop trigger. You revisit past choices, imagining better outcomes if only you had acted differently. Instead of learning, you punish yourself. Regret turns into a mental movie you can't stop replaying. If the past occupies more space in your present than the future does, you're living inside a loop of regret. Another sign is repetitive self-doubt. No matter what decision you make, you question it repeatedly. Even after taking action, you wonder if you should have chosen differently. Instead of moving forward, you drag the decision behind you, looping through insecurity. Progress becomes painful because you never allow yourself to settle into confidence. Loops are sneaky because they feel familiar. You grow so used to repeating certain thoughts that they feel normal, but comfort doesn't equal health. Familiar loops may give you a false sense of control, but deep down, you know you're stuck. Recognizing that comfort can itself be a trap helps you identify the loops you've normalized. Sometimes loops show up as endless research. You consume information but never apply it. Each article or video leads to another, and though you feel informed, you take no action. Information without application is a loop disguised as learning. If knowledge doesn't lead to change, it becomes another form of mental repetition. Guilt can also lock you in loops. You replay mistakes, even small ones, convincing yourself they define you. The guilt resurfaces every time you try to move on, pulling you back. Loops thrive on guilt because it keeps you chained to what can't be undone. Recognizing guilt as a loop means choosing forgiveness as the exit. Sometimes loops appear in conversations with yourself. You repeat affirmations or reminders, but instead of building strength, they highlight your doubts. When self-talk feels like begging rather than believing, it's looping. Healthy affirmations empower. Looping ones expose insecurity. The difference lies in whether they inspire action or recycle fear. A mental loop often leaves your body tense, your shoulders tighten, your jaw clenches, and your breathing becomes shallow. Physical symptoms reveal the mind's cycles. If you notice your body reacting without external cause, it's a sign your thoughts are looping stress signals. The body keeps score of mental repetition. Dreams deferred by loops become heavier over time. The longer you wait, the more pressure builds, making the task seem impossible. The loop grows not because the dream is unreachable, but because repetition magnifies the distance. Recognizing this helps you act before the loop adds unnecessary weight. Sometimes loops disguise themselves as responsibility. You tell yourself, "I need to think of every outcome to protect others." But instead of helping, you burden yourself with imagined duties. Responsibility should clarify action, not paralyze it. If your sense of duty leaves you frozen, you're stuck in a loop of false obligation. Mental loops also create cycles of comparison. You measure yourself against others, then loop back into feelings of inadequacy. No matter what you achieve, the loop convinces you it's not enough. Comparison without conclusion is an endless cycle, draining joy from accomplishments. Recognizing comparison as a loop allows you to step into gratitude instead. Another sign is when solutions don't feel satisfying. You may solve a problem, but your mind reopens it, doubting whether the solution was right. Instead of resting in resolution, you loop back into questioning. If problems don't end when solved, you're not lacking answers. You're stuck in a loop of second-guessing. Loops often show up as repetitive daydreams. You escape into the same fantasy over and over, but it never moves closer to reality. Unlike true vision, which motivates action, these daydreams trap you in comfort without change. If your dreams feel more like escape than fuel, they're not vision, they're loops. The exhaustion from loops is unmistakable. You end your day feeling as though you've worked hard, yet nothing is accomplished. This false fatigue comes from cycling thoughts that burn energy without output. If your mind feels tired but your life hasn't moved forward, you're running in mental circles. Recognizing this exhaustion helps you break the cycle. Finally, the greatest sign of a mental loop is repetition without growth. If your thoughts revisit the same place without bringing you closer to clarity, peace, or action, you're looping. Growth always carries you forward. Loops always return you to the start. The difference is progress, and progress can only begin once you recognize you're stuck in a loop and decide to step out. Chapter 4. The Cost of Delayed Action. Every moment of hesitation carries an invisible price. When you delay action, you convince yourself you are protecting yourself from mistakes, but in truth, you are losing opportunities that will never return. Time keeps moving whether you act or not, and with each delay, the gap between your intentions and your reality grows wider. That widening gap is where regret is born. The cost of delay is not just missed opportunities, but also wasted energy. You spend hours thinking about what you could do, rehearsing possibilities and analyzing outcomes, yet nothing changes in your life. Energy poured into overthinking does not build results. It only drains your spirit. What could have been invested in progress becomes lost in hesitation. Delayed action weakens confidence. Each time you pause instead of acting, you teach yourself that you cannot trust your own judgment. Over time, this erodes your self-belief, making every future decision feel heavier. Confidence is built on action, not thought. Without movement, your mind begins to doubt its own strength. The longer you delay, the harder it becomes to start. A small task, when postponed, grows into a mountain in your imagination. What could have been finished in minutes now feels overwhelming, not because the task changed, but because your perspective did. Delay multiplies difficulty, turning simple steps into intimidating challenges. Regret is the heaviest cost of delayed action. Looking back, people rarely regret the things they tried and failed at. They regret the chances they never took. Opportunities often appear only once, and hesitation can mean losing them forever. Regret is not born from failure, but from the absence of action when the moment called for it. Delayed action also closes doors. Life presents you with openings, but they are time-sensitive. A conversation unsaid, a chance ignored, or a step postponed can lead to doors that shut permanently. People move on, conditions change, and timing shifts. Delay does not preserve the opportunity, it destroys it. Another cost is stagnation. When you delay action, your life remains stuck in the same place. Days turn into weeks, weeks into months, and nothing changes. Progress requires momentum, and momentum only comes from action. Without it, you remain in the same cycle, watching others move forward while you remain still. Delayed action often disguises itself as waiting for the right time, but the right time rarely arrives. Circumstances will never be perfect, and waiting only ensures that you lose the present moment. Action creates conditions, inaction wastes them. Every delay is a missed chance to shape the life you desire. The emotional cost of delay is anxiety. The longer you put something off, the more it weighs on your mind. Instead of relief, you feel constant tension, knowing you should act, but haven't. The unfinished task becomes a shadow that follows you, draining your peace until you finally confront it. Delay turns simple responsibilities into emotional burdens. Delayed action damages trust, not only in yourself, but also in the eyes of others. People notice when you say you'll act, but never follow through. Reliability is built on timely decisions. Delay signals uncertainty, making others hesitant to depend on you. Trust, once broken, is hard to rebuild, and delay often silently erodes it. Procrastination is not harmless, it compounds over time. Each small delay builds upon the last, creating habits of avoidance. Eventually, you train your mind to delay by default. This pattern becomes self-reinforcing, making it even harder to break free. Delay doesn't stay small. It grows until it controls your entire way of living. The financial cost of delay is also real. Opportunities for growth, investment, or advancement pass by, and while you wait, others act. Delayed action can mean lost income, missed promotions, or wasted potential. Money and time are deeply connected, and delaying one often costs you both. Relationships suffer from delayed action as well. Words left unsaid, apologies withheld, and expressions of love postponed can leave wounds that never heal. Delay in relationships communicates indifference, even when you care deeply. By the time you decide to act, it may be too late, and the chance to connect is gone forever. Another cost is the loss of learning. Action teaches lessons, even when you fail. Delay teaches nothing. By avoiding mistakes, you also avoid growth. Failure is not the enemy. Inaction is. Every delay robs you of the chance to learn, adapt, and improve. Without those lessons, your progress slows to a crawl. Delayed action feeds fear. The longer you wait, the more terrifying the step becomes. Fear grows in stillness, but shrinks when faced directly. Delay allows fear to expand unchecked, until even small tasks feel overwhelming. Taking action is the only way to cut fear down to size. The cost of delay often shows up in missed timing. Success is not only about effort, it is also about seizing the right moment. Acting too late can mean arriving after the opportunity has already passed. Timing is fragile, and delay disrupts it. Even the best plans lose power when postponed. Delay also corrodes discipline. Each time you allow yourself to wait, you weaken the muscle of immediate action. Discipline is built on consistency, and consistency cannot exist where delay rules. The cost is not only in what you lose today, but also in the habits you destroy for tomorrow. Another cost is loss of momentum. When you delay, the initial energy and excitement that pushed you toward the idea fades away. Momentum, once lost, is hard to regain. The spark that inspired you to act dims, leaving you unmotivated. Delay doesn't just waste time, it kills passion. Delayed action also shrinks courage. Every time you hesitate, you reinforce the belief that challenges are too big to face. Courage is strengthened by action, no matter how small. Delay weakens it, making future actions even harder. Over time, courage fades until even the smallest risks feel unbearable. When you delay, you also increase complexity. The task itself may not change, but your circumstances do. More responsibilities pile up, more distractions appear, and what was once simple becomes complicated. Delay makes problems heavier than they ever needed to be. The psychological cost of delay is guilt. Deep down, you know you should act, and that knowledge eats away at you. Guilt drains your joy, keeping you mentally tied to what you haven't done. This emotional weight lingers until you either act or abandon the goal completely. Delay breeds guilt, and guilt breeds stagnation. Health can also suffer from delay. Ignoring medical issues, postponing exercise, or delaying healthy choices adds up over time. What could have been prevented becomes harder to reverse. Delay in health is costly because the body doesn't pause for your hesitation. Action today prevents suffering tomorrow. Another cost is damaged opportunities for connection. A message unsent, a visit postponed, or a simple thank you delayed can alter relationships permanently. Life moves quickly, and people are not guaranteed to be there when you finally decide to act. Delay in love and kindness often leaves unhealed regrets. Delay also weakens identity. You begin to see yourself as someone who waits, someone who avoids, someone who never finishes. Identity shapes behavior, and if delay becomes part of how you define yourself, it traps you in a cycle of missed chances. Breaking that identity requires deliberate, timely action. The cost of delay is not always visible immediately. Sometimes it takes years to realize how many chances slipped by while you waited. You may wonder why life feels stagnant, why dreams never materialized. Often the answer lies in 1,000 small delays that accumulated into a lifetime of missed progress. Delayed action kills creativity. Ideas, like sparks, have a short lifespan. If you don't act on them quickly, they fade or are taken by someone else who moved faster. Delay turns innovation into regret, leaving you with what could have been instead of what I built. Creativity demands immediacy. Another cost of delay is emotional heaviness. Each undone task lingers in your mind, taking up mental space. Even when you're not consciously thinking about it, the weight is there. Over time, this burden becomes overwhelming, reducing your mental clarity and focus. Delay clutters the mind as much as it clutters life. Delayed action often leads to missed alignment. Opportunities that once matched your values and goals may not exist later. Life evolves, and so do you. Waiting too long means the moment no longer fits who you are, leaving you with nothing but a memory of what might have worked once. Delay creates dependence on luck. Instead of shaping outcomes through action, you wait for circumstances to align on their own. But luck is unreliable, and building life on chance is dangerous. Action gives you control. Delay leaves you at the mercy of randomness. Another cost is that delay normalizes excuses. You justify waiting by convincing yourself it's preparation, timing, or caution. Over time, excuses become easier than action, and you begin to believe them. Delay isn't just a choice. It becomes a mindset that keeps you trapped. Delayed action robs you of presence. Instead of living in the moment, you live in the shadow of what you should be doing. You carry mental clutter everywhere, unable to fully enjoy the now. Presence requires closure, and closure requires action. Without it, life feels unfinished. Delay often destroys resilience. Taking action, even when uncertain, builds adaptability. But when you delay, you avoid the discomfort of challenges. This avoidance weakens resilience, leaving you fragile in the face of adversity. Action toughens you, delay softens you. Another hidden cost is missed influence. Acting quickly allows you to inspire others through your courage. Delay, however, sends the opposite message. That fear rules you. People watch not what you intend, but what you do. Delay undermines your ability to lead and motivate. Delayed action also feeds self-doubt. Each postponed step reinforces the belief that you're not ready, not capable, or not strong enough. This cycle corrodes self-esteem, leaving you weaker than before. Confidence cannot grow in the soil of hesitation. Finally, the greatest cost of delayed action is life itself. Every day you wait is a day you never get back. Time is the one resource that cannot be renewed. Delay steals your most precious gift, leaving you with unfulfilled potential. The cost of delay is not just missed chances, it is a life unlived. Chapter 5. Shift from what if to what now. What if is the question of hesitation. It keeps you trapped in possibilities that may never happen, spinning endless scenarios that drain your courage. What now is the question of momentum. It pulls you back into the present, demanding action instead of speculation. The shift between these two questions marks the difference between living in fear of the future and embracing the power of the present. When you live in what if, every step feels dangerous. You hesitate to begin because you're too busy imagining failure, rejection, or disappointment. These imagined outcomes steal your energy before you've even acted. But when you shift to what now, you see only the step in front of you. You stop predicting disasters and start building progress, one moment at a time. What if thinking multiplies problems that don't exist? You create obstacles in your mind, replaying them until they feel real. Yet most of what you fear never comes to pass. The cost of this mindset is wasted time and lost peace. What now thinking dismantles imaginary problems by replacing them with action. Instead of fearing shadows, you move toward the light of clarity. The question, what now, doesn't ask you to solve your entire life at once. It doesn't demand perfection. It simply asks, what can I do in this moment? That simplicity breaks down even the largest challenges. By focusing on the immediate step, you shrink overwhelming mountains into manageable paths. Progress becomes less about conquering everything and more about moving forward today. A clear sign of being stuck in what if is indecision. You keep replaying options, comparing and analyzing without resolution. The future feels like a maze with no exit, but asking what now simplifies it. You don't need the whole map, just the next direction. Clarity comes not from knowing everything, but from acting with what you know now. What if thinking feeds perfectionism. You believe that if you imagine every outcome, you can avoid mistakes. But life doesn't work that way. Mistakes are inevitable, and delaying action only creates regret. What now accepts imperfection. It teaches you that growth happens not in imagining flawless outcomes, but in learning from real experiences. Shifting to what now also strengthens confidence. Each time you act, no matter how small, you build trust in yourself. You prove that you can face uncertainty and survive it. This trust compounds with each decision, creating momentum. Confidence is not built in theory, it's built in action. The more you live in what now, the stronger your belief in yourself becomes. What if traps you in fear of rejection. You imagine being judged, misunderstood, or ridiculed. These fears paralyze you, even when no one is watching. What now liberates you. It reminds you that other people's opinions are outside your control, but your actions are always within it. By shifting focus, you stop living for imagined criticism and start living for real growth. One of the greatest benefits of what now is peace. What if creates chaos in the mind, a storm of doubts and anxieties. What now grounds you in the present, calming your thoughts by giving them direction. Peace is not the absence of problems, but the presence of clarity. Acting now restores calm in ways thinking endlessly never can. What if is about control, while what now is about courage. In chasing certainty, you attempt to control the uncontrollable. But life cannot be perfectly predicted. What now accepts uncertainty and still moves forward. That acceptance is courage. The willingness to face the unknown, not because it's safe, but because growth requires it. What if drains energy because it loops endlessly. You repeat the same scenarios without resolution. What now conserves energy by directing it. Each action becomes purposeful, each step meaningful. Instead of exhaustion, you experience momentum. Energy flows where focus goes, and what now focuses you on doing, not doubting. The shift also transforms relationships. What if makes you second-guess others, replaying conversations and assuming hidden meanings. This breeds distance and mistrust. What now encourages directness. Instead of imagining, you communicate. Instead of doubting, you ask. Relationships thrive when you stay present rather than lost in imagined outcomes. What if thinking magnifies failure before it even happens? You picture the worst and feel defeated without ever trying. What now reframes failure as feedback. It asks, what can I learn now? With this perspective, failure becomes part of the process, not the end of it. Progress is built on lessons, not fears. Creativity flourishes in what now? What if restricts creativity by demanding certainty before expression. You hesitate to share ideas, fearing they're not good enough. What now allows freedom to experiment. It says, create first, refine later. This mindset turns fear into flow, making room for innovation to thrive. Living in what now brings gratitude. What if distracts you from the present, convincing you that life begins only when conditions are perfect. What now reveals that life is happening here and now, in this moment. Gratitude grows when you stop waiting for the future and start noticing the opportunities already in front of you. The shift also sharpens discipline. What if tempts you to wait for clarity that never comes? What now demands accountability. It forces you to act even when you don't feel ready. Each time you choose what now, you train your mind to value action over delay. Discipline grows not by dreaming of results, but by acting despite doubt. What if steals presence? You may be physically present but mentally lost in imagined futures. What now restores presence. It pulls your attention back to the task, the conversation, the moment. Life feels richer when you're engaged with it fully instead of distracted by fears that don't exist yet. Another strength of what now is adaptability. What if tries to plan for every possibility, making you rigid and fearful of surprises. What now embraces flexibility. It reminds you that you don't need all the answers before beginning. You can act now, adjust later, and trust your ability to adapt. Flexibility comes from presence, not prediction. What if multiplies stress because it puts weight on the future? You feel pressure for things that haven't happened yet. What now reduces stress by limiting your focus to the present step. Carrying the weight of the entire future is impossible, but carrying today is manageable. Stress shrinks when you live in the now. What now also restores clarity. What if clouds the mind with too many possibilities. What now clears the fog by asking a single question. What's the next step? That question simplifies everything. When clarity replaces confusion, progress feels natural instead of forced. The shift from what if to what now empowers decision-making. What if makes you second-guess endlessly. What now teaches you to decide with the information you have. Even imperfect choices move you forward. Every decision becomes a stepping stone, not a prison. Movement matters more than perfection. What if makes you reactive. You respond to imagined fears instead of real challenges. What now makes you proactive. You choose action before fear dictates your direction. Proactivity builds control because you're shaping life rather than being shaped by hesitation. What if shrinks courage, while what now expands it. The more you act in the present, the more fearless you become. Courage is not built in the mind, it is built in action. Every what now moment adds to your strength, proving that fear is powerless against action. What now simplifies even the most complex problems. Instead of being paralyzed by their size, you focus on the smallest step you can take today. Complexity unravels when you break it down into present action. The mountain ahead becomes just the step beneath your feet. What if holds you hostage to perfection, but what now frees you to begin. Perfection is endless preparation. Action is imperfect progress. By choosing what now, you realize that small, imperfect actions build more success than flawless plans never started. Another gift of what now is peace of mind at the end of the day. What if leaves you restless, replaying fears and doubts before sleep. What now gives closure because you acted on what you could. You rest knowing you moved forward, even if only a little. That peace is priceless. What if wastes opportunities. The world is full of fleeting chances, and delay often means losing them. What now seizes opportunities before they vanish. Success often belongs not to the smartest or the strongest, but to those who act while others wait. What now also heals regret. Regret is born from inaction, from the things left undone. By acting in the present, you prevent regret before it forms. Even if outcomes aren't perfect, you'll know you tried. That knowledge brings freedom from the weight of what if. Living in what now builds resilience. Each action, whether successful or not, strengthens your ability to adapt. What if weakens resilience by avoiding discomfort. What now embraces it, teaching you that you are capable of handling challenges as they come. What if narrows your vision, keeping you focused on fear. What now expands your vision by showing you possibility. When you move forward, even small steps reveal new perspectives you couldn't have imagined from the starting point. Vision grows from action, not speculation. What now creates momentum. Each decision leads to another, and progress compounds. What if stalls momentum by keeping you circling the same doubts. Momentum is life's fuel, and the only way to build it is by choosing the present over imagined futures. What if often ends in silence because fear convinces you to say nothing, do nothing, risk nothing. What now ends in expression. You speak, you act, you live. Life becomes richer when you refuse to let fear silence you. The shift also transforms your identity. What if creates an identity of hesitation. What now creates an identity of action. Each time you choose the present, you reinforce the belief that you are someone who moves forward, not someone who hides in fear. Identity shapes destiny, and what now shapes a destiny of growth. What now invites gratitude for progress. Instead of obsessing over what hasn't happened, you celebrate what you've done today. Gratitude fuels consistency, making each step feel meaningful. What if robs gratitude by focusing only on what could go wrong? Finally, the most powerful truth is this: what if steals life, while what now creates it. Each day you spend in speculation is a day unlived. Each day you spend in action is a day transformed. The future is shaped not by endless imagining, but by choices made in the present. The question is simple: will you stay stuck in what if, or will you act in what now? Chapter 6. Trusting the power of small decisions. Life is rarely shaped by one grand decision. Instead, it is the accumulation of countless small choices that define who we are and where we end up. Every day you stand at crossroads, some so small they feel insignificant. Yet over time, these tiny decisions compound, leading to entirely different lives. Trusting the power of small decisions means recognizing that even the smallest step has the potential to transform your future. Most people wait for big moments, believing only those can change their destiny. But destiny is not one choice. It's built brick by brick. Each time you decide to wake up early, to study instead of procrastinate, to be kind instead of bitter, you're shaping the path of your life. The grand turning points are rare, but the small decisions are daily, and it is the daily choices that quietly decide your future. The beauty of small decisions lies in their accessibility. You don't need extraordinary strength or perfect circumstances to make them. You just need the will to choose differently in ordinary moments. These choices feel small today, but they ripple outward. Like drops of water carving stone, they create lasting impact over time. Trusting small decisions also takes pressure off your shoulders. Big decisions can feel overwhelming, paralyzing you with fear of making the wrong move. But small decisions are manageable. They allow you to build progress step by step without being crushed by the weight of perfection. A life of momentum is not built on leaps, but on steady steps. Small decisions also build discipline. Every time you choose action over delay, honesty over comfort, health over indulgence, you reinforce habits of strength. Discipline is not a sudden transformation. It's the result of countless small decisions repeated daily. Trusting these choices means trusting yourself to grow consistently, even if the progress feels invisible at first. One reason people dismiss small decisions is because their results are not immediate. Choosing water over soda doesn't transform your health in a day. Writing one page doesn't make you an author overnight. But compounded over months and years, these choices reshape your life. The power of small decisions is quiet but unstoppable. Every success story is made of small decisions. Athletes who win championships do so because of thousands of training sessions, each fueled by a decision to show up. Entrepreneurs build empires by choosing daily persistence, even when results were uncertain. The difference between those who succeed and those who don't is rarely one big moment. It is small decisions, trusted and repeated. Trusting small decisions also frees you from the myth of perfection. You don't need to know every step of the journey to begin. You only need to decide the next right thing. One choice at a time creates clarity. The path unfolds as you walk it, and trust grows stronger with each small step forward. Another power of small decisions is that they teach responsibility. When you realize your daily choices shape your future, you stop blaming luck or circumstance. You see that your life is a mirror of your repeated decisions. This responsibility can feel heavy, but it is also empowering. It means you have the power to create change at any moment. Small decisions also shape character. Choosing kindness in moments of anger, honesty when lying would be easier, or persistence when quitting feels tempting. These are the decisions that define who you are. Character is not formed in grand gestures, but in small, unseen choices made consistently. Trusting them means valuing integrity in every moment. Another hidden strength of small decisions is that they reduce regret. Big decisions often paralyze people because they fear making the wrong one. But when you focus on small choices, you realize that no single step defines everything. You can always adjust, shift, and redirect. Small decisions keep you flexible, allowing you to learn as you move. Trusting small decisions also protects you from overwhelm. Life often feels impossible when you look too far ahead. The future is a mountain too high to climb in one leap. But breaking it into daily steps makes it manageable. You don't need to conquer the mountain today. You just need to take the next step. Small decisions train your mind to focus on the present. Instead of being paralyzed by distant fears, you concentrate on what you can control now. This mindfulness reduces stress and builds peace. Trusting small decisions is not only about results, it's about living fully in the moment. Relationships are built on small decisions too. Choosing to listen instead of interrupt, to forgive instead of holding grudges, to express gratitude instead of assuming others know how you feel. These choices create bonds that last. Love is not a single declaration, but 1,000 small decisions to care. Small decisions create momentum. Each choice builds confidence, and each act of confidence fuels the next decision. Momentum doesn't come from waiting for motivation. It comes from acting in small ways until action itself becomes habit. Trusting small decisions means trusting momentum to carry you forward. Another gift of small decisions is that they teach humility. Grand decisions often feed ego, making you feel powerful for a moment. Small decisions remind you that greatness is built quietly, without applause. Choosing to stay consistent, to keep learning, to persist in silence, these humble decisions build lasting success. Small decisions also reveal priorities. What you choose in daily moments shows what you truly value. You may say health matters, but your choices at the table reveal the truth. You may say growth matters, but your choices with time reveal your reality. Trusting small decisions means aligning them with your values, making your life authentic. The ripple effect of small decisions cannot be overstated. A single choice can influence not only your life, but also the lives of others. Choosing patience with a child, kindness to a stranger, or honesty in business can inspire change far beyond what you see. Small decisions create waves you may never witness, but that matter deeply. Small decisions also protect against fear of failure. When you only focus on the big picture, failure feels catastrophic. But when you take small steps, mistakes become lessons instead of disasters. Trusting small decisions means seeing failure as feedback, guiding your next step without destroying your confidence. Every small decision is an investment. Just as money compounds over time, so do choices. Investing in daily learning compounds into wisdom. Investing in small acts of health compounds into vitality. Investing in daily kindness compounds into meaningful relationships. The compounding power of small decisions is unstoppable when trusted consistently. Trusting small decisions also makes change sustainable. Drastic changes often fail because they overwhelm the mind and body. But small changes stick. Choosing to walk for 10 minutes a day, to read for 15 minutes, or to save a small amount consistently creates lasting habits. Transformation is not sudden, it is gradual and built on trust. Small decisions train resilience. Each time you choose to act, even when tired or discouraged, you prove to yourself that you can push forward. This resilience strengthens you for bigger challenges ahead. Trusting small decisions builds the inner toughness needed to face storms without breaking. Small decisions guard against procrastination. Instead of waiting for the perfect time, you act now, even if imperfectly. Procrastination thrives on delay, but small choices defeat it by creating immediate action. Trusting them means refusing to give fear or laziness the upper hand. Another benefit of small decisions is clarity. Large choices often feel foggy because they involve too many variables. Small decisions clear the path, one step at a time. Each choice reveals the next, and slowly the fog lifts. Trusting them means walking confidently, even when the destination is far away. Small decisions also reduce complexity. Life becomes manageable when broken into smaller parts. Overwhelm dissolves when you only ask yourself, what's the next small thing I can do? Trusting small decisions transforms chaos into order. The secret of mastery is hidden in small decisions. Musicians, athletes, and artists all improve by practicing daily, making small choices to refine their craft. Greatness is not born in a single moment, but in the repetition of countless small decisions. Trust in them creates mastery over time. Small decisions also protect your mental health. When you focus on manageable steps, you reduce anxiety. Big leaps trigger fear, but small actions feel safe and doable. Progress built this way keeps your mind steady and your spirit calm. Trusting small decisions teaches patience. Results may not appear quickly, but consistency ensures they arrive eventually. Patience is not waiting passively, but trusting that small choices accumulate into transformation. The seed doesn't grow overnight, but with daily care, it becomes a tree. Small decisions also nurture gratitude. When you focus on small wins, you appreciate progress instead of dismissing it. Gratitude builds motivation, fueling you to keep going. Trusting small decisions makes you realize that every step, no matter how small, is worthy of celebration. Another lesson is adaptability. Small decisions allow you to adjust quickly. If one path doesn't work, you can pivot without losing everything. Large decisions lock you in. Small ones give you freedom to explore. Trusting them means valuing flexibility over rigidity. Small decisions also fight hopelessness. When life feels overwhelming, the belief that nothing you do matters can creep in. But small decisions remind you that every action counts. Even the smallest step forward is proof that you're not stuck. Hope is built through daily choices. Every habit begins with a small decision. You don't suddenly become disciplined, kind, or skilled. You become these things by choosing them daily. Trusting small decisions means trusting the process of becoming through repetition. Small decisions also influence identity. Each choice shapes who you believe yourself to be. Choosing discipline makes you see yourself as disciplined. Choosing kindness makes you see yourself as compassionate. Identity is a reflection of repeated small choices. Trusting small decisions also gives you control over your life. Large events may be unpredictable, but daily choices are always within your grasp. This control is empowering, reminding you that you are not powerless. Small decisions put your life back in your hands. Finally, the greatest truth is this: small decisions create big lives. The path to success, love, health, and peace is not built on rare, grand moments, but on the choices you make every single day. Trust them, honor them, and repeat them. Over time, they will shape a life far greater than you ever imagined. Small decisions are powerful because they anchor you in reality. Instead of being overwhelmed by distant dreams or fears, you choose something tangible, something within your reach right now. This shift keeps you grounded and reminds you that control over the present is more valuable than obsession over the future. Groundedness is built one small choice at a time. Each small decision teaches you accountability. You realize that your actions, however minor, carry weight. Skipping a commitment may seem trivial, but repeated often enough, it shapes your reliability. Similarly, Honoring small commitments builds trust in yourself and in others. Accountability grows strongest through the smallest acts of consistency. Small decisions teach patience with yourself. Transformation doesn't happen overnight, and expecting it to will only breed frustration. But when you measure progress by the small choices you made today, you begin to see yourself differently. You're no longer waiting for perfection. You're acknowledging the growth that happens quietly but steadily. Trusting small decisions also prevents burnout. Grand gestures of change often lead to exhaustion because they demand more than you can sustain. Small, steady changes feel manageable. They allow you to adjust naturally, preventing the crash that comes from overexertion. Balance is preserved when you respect the pace of small steps. Small decisions shape your mindset toward abundance. Each time you choose growth, you tell yourself that you have the power to create a better future. This mindset slowly replaces the scarcity belief that life is fixed and unchangeable. Abundance is not just about money or opportunity. It's about realizing you are capable of shaping your destiny one choice at a time. Another advantage of small decisions is that they build awareness. The more you pay attention to your daily choices, the more conscious you become of your habits. This awareness helps you identify patterns that either support or sabotage your growth. Without awareness, you live on autopilot. With it, you begin to design your life deliberately. Trusting small decisions reminds you that action is always possible. Even when big plans collapse or circumstances feel out of your control, there's always one small thing you can choose right now. This empowers you to focus on possibility rather than limitation. The smallest choice can keep hope alive when everything else feels uncertain. Small decisions also reduce the weight of failure. When you fail at a massive leap, it feels devastating. But when you fail at a small step, it feels like practice. This perspective makes you less afraid to try again. The lighter the cost of failure, the freer you are to act. That freedom comes only when you trust small decisions. Consistency grows in the soil of small decisions. You don't become consistent by wishing for it. You become consistent by repeating manageable choices until they become second nature. Small decisions don't feel heroic, but their quiet repetition builds a foundation stronger than bursts of short-lived effort. Every small decision plants a seed. Some seeds grow quickly, showing results in days or weeks. Others take months or years, growing silently beneath the surface. Trusting small decisions means believing in the unseen, knowing that growth is happening even when you can't measure it yet. Seeds require patience before they bloom. Small decisions are also a form of self-respect. Each time you choose to honor your health, your values, or your priorities, you affirm that your life matters. These affirmations accumulate, building self-worth. Disrespecting yourself often comes not from big failures, but from ignoring the power of small daily choices. The world is changed through small decisions multiplied across people. Movements are born when individuals choose courage in small moments. Change doesn't begin with revolutions. It begins with small decisions that ripple outward until they cannot be ignored. Every small act contributes to the fabric of society. Small decisions sharpen focus. By choosing one action instead of scattering energy across many, you train your mind to concentrate. Over time, this builds mental strength and resilience. Focus is not built in one big effort, but in small repeated choices to return to what matters. Trusting small decisions reminds you that progress is not linear. Some days you will take large steps, others only small ones. But every small step keeps you on the path, even when the journey feels slow. Trust is about believing that no action is wasted when aligned with your values. Small decisions also improve adaptability. Because they are lightweight, you can pivot quickly if something doesn't work. Large decisions often lock you in, making it harder to adjust. Small choices keep you flexible, teaching you to respond to life's shifts with grace instead of rigidity. Each small decision builds resilience against temptation. Choosing discipline once may feel insignificant, but each repetition strengthens your resistance. Eventually, temptations lose their power because your habits are stronger. Resilience is not built in battlefields, but in the small daily choices that prepare you for them. Small decisions make success approachable. Instead of seeing achievement as a distant summit, you view it as a trail of steps. Each choice is a step closer. This reframing makes success feel possible rather than intimidating, encouraging persistence where fear once ruled. Another overlooked strength of small decisions is that they empower forgiveness. Each time you fall short, you can decide to try again immediately. You don't have to wait for a grand restart. You just need to choose differently in the next moment. Forgiveness is built into the fabric of small choices. Small decisions simplify goals. Big goals are broken into pieces, each represented by a small daily choice. This structure transforms overwhelming ambitions into practical action. Trusting the process of small decisions makes even the biggest dreams manageable. Small decisions also reveal alignment. When your daily choices reflect your deeper values, you live authentically. When they don't, you feel inner conflict. This awareness helps you adjust, aligning your actions with your beliefs. Authenticity is lived out in daily choices, not in occasional grand declarations. Trusting small decisions gives you freedom from comparison. Instead of measuring yourself against others' achievements, you focus on your own next step. Progress becomes personal. Comparison fades when you trust that your small choices are enough to create your unique path. Small decisions transform fear into courage. When you face fear in small doses, you build strength to face larger challenges. Courage doesn't arrive fully formed. It grows in the small choices where you choose bravery over avoidance. Trusting them means believing that courage can be trained. Another gift is emotional balance. Small decisions like pausing before reacting, breathing deeply in stress, or choosing gratitude in frustration shape emotional stability. Emotional intelligence is not mastered in books, but in repeated small choices that regulate your heart and mind. Small decisions give shape to time. Days don't become meaningful by default. They become meaningful when filled with intentional choices. Choosing how you spend each moment transforms time from something you endure into something you design. Time management is really decision management. Trusting small decisions also creates identity through repetition. You don't decide to become disciplined once, you prove it daily. Identity is not what you claim, but what you choose consistently. Each small decision builds the story of who you are becoming. Another gift is perspective. Small decisions remind you that change doesn't have to be dramatic to matter. Even 1% improvement daily compounds into transformation. This perspective removes pressure and restores belief in the process. Small decisions guard against helplessness. When life feels too big, you may feel powerless. But recognizing that you can always make one small choice restores agency. That choice may not solve everything, but it reminds you that you are never entirely without power. Small decisions also strengthen faith. Trusting that today's effort will matter tomorrow requires belief. This faith is reinforced each time a small choice produces results, proving that patience and consistency pay off. Faith in the process is built through repetition. Every small decision leaves a legacy. The way you live daily becomes the memory others carry of you. People rarely remember your grand moments. They remember your consistency, your kindness, your habits. Legacy is carved in small choices, trusted over time. Trusting small decisions teaches humility toward growth. You stop expecting overnight transformation and start respecting gradual improvement. Humility keeps you steady, preventing arrogance when you succeed and despair when you struggle. Small choices ground you in reality. Small decisions are the best teachers of discipline. Reading one page, saving $1, taking one step toward health. Each reinforces discipline in ways big gestures can't. Discipline grows strong when small decisions are trusted daily. Another benefit is confidence in chaos. When life feels overwhelming, small decisions give you something solid to hold onto. You may not control the storm, but you can control your next choice. That power builds calmness even in uncertainty. Trusting small decisions helps you overcome self-doubt. Each choice is evidence that you are capable. Over time, these small victories replace doubt with proof. Confidence is built not by imagining success, but by collecting daily evidence of your strength. Finally, the deepest truth is this: greatness is not hidden in the grand, but in the ordinary. Small decisions, trusted daily, shape destiny more than rare opportunities ever will. Your future is not waiting for one miracle moment. It's being shaped right now by the choices you make in silence, in simplicity, in the small moments that no one sees. Chapter 7: Emotions versus Logic, Finding Balance. Emotions and logic are often portrayed as enemies, but the truth is they are partners. Emotions give life meaning, while logic gives life direction. Relying only on emotions can lead to chaos, and relying only on logic can strip life of warmth. Balance means allowing emotions to inspire your choices while letting logic guide their execution. When you act only on emotion, you risk being impulsive. A surge of anger may lead you to say words you regret, or excitement may push you into commitments you can't sustain. But when you ignore emotions and focus only on logic, you risk becoming detached, robotic, and disconnected from the people around you. Balance is the art of holding both truths without letting either one dominate completely. Emotions are signals. They reveal what matters to you, what excites you, and what scares you. Logic, on the other hand, is structure. It helps you process those signals and decide what to do with them. Without emotions, you have no compass. Without logic, you have no map. Together, they give you both direction and clarity. One sign of imbalance is overreacting. When emotions dominate without logic, even small problems feel overwhelming. You may spiral into panic, anxiety, or frustration. Logic provides grounding, reminding you of facts and perspective. On the other side, when logic dominates, you may dismiss real feelings, invalidating not only yourself, but also those around you. The goal is not suppression, but integration. Balance means pausing. When a strong emotion arises, you acknowledge it, but don't act immediately. You let logic step in to ask, what's the wisest response here? That pause creates space for better choices. Emotions should be honored, but they should not drive the car. They belong in the passenger seat with logic holding the wheel. Emotions give your actions passion. Logic gives them precision. Passion without precision wastes energy, while precision without passion lacks power. When combined, they create decisions that are both meaningful and effective. Balance is when your heart and mind work together instead of fighting for control. Relationships thrive when emotions and logic are balanced. If you act only on emotion, you may hurt others with careless words or unrealistic demands. If you act only on logic, you may seem cold and unfeeling, making others feel unseen. True connection requires empathy guided by reason. It means feeling deeply but responding wisely. Decision-making improves when you balance both. Emotions show you what you care about, while logic tests whether the decision aligns with your goals and reality. If you ignore emotions, you risk chasing empty achievements. If you ignore logic, you risk chasing illusions. Balance ensures your decisions are both fulfilling and sustainable. In moments of crisis, emotions often spike. Fear, anger, or grief can cloud judgment. Logic becomes the stabilizer, helping you slow down, assess, and act effectively. Yet logic alone cannot carry you through crisis. Emotions like hope and resilience give you strength to endure. Balance is the bridge that carries you across challenges. Overthinking often comes from leaning too heavily on logic. You analyze endlessly, trying to predict every outcome and lose touch with your intuition. On the other hand, impulsiveness comes from leaning too heavily on emotions. Balance means trusting your gut enough to move, but checking it with logic so you don't stumble blindly. Balance is also about timing. Sometimes emotions should lead, like in creativity or relationships. Other times, logic must lead, like in business or crisis management. Wisdom lies in knowing which to listen to in each moment. It's not about silencing one voice, but about adjusting the volume depending on the situation. Emotions bring color to life. Joy, love, excitement. These are not logical, yet they make existence worthwhile. Logic ensures that the pursuit of these emotions doesn't destroy you. Together, they allow you to live passionately but sustainably. Balance means choosing both joy and responsibility. Ignoring emotions often leads to numbness. You may appear in control, but inside, you feel disconnected. Ignoring logic often leads to regret. You may feel alive in the moment, but consequences come quickly. Balance prevents both emptiness and regret by weaving together heart and reason. Balance also protects your health. Stress is often emotional, but logic helps you manage it by creating plans, routines, and boundaries. At the same time, ignoring stress signals and relying only on logic can break you down physically. Listening to emotions while applying logical solutions keeps both mind and body in harmony. Creativity is born from emotion, but refined by logic. The spark of inspiration often comes from passion, curiosity, or imagination. But without logic, ideas remain raw and chaotic. Logic organizes them, turning sparks into structured fire. Balance transforms inspiration into creation. Leadership requires balance too. A leader driven only by logic may win efficiency but lose loyalty. A leader driven only by emotion may inspire followers but fail to deliver results. Great leaders balance compassion with strategy, creating trust while ensuring progress. Balance makes leadership both human and effective. Balance is also about honesty with yourself. If you suppress emotions in the name of logic, they will resurface in destructive ways through burnout, resentment, or breakdown. If you ignore logic in favor of emotions, you'll keep running into the same painful consequences. Balance demands self-awareness and courage to face both sides of yourself. Emotions connect you to others. Logic protects you from being consumed by others. If you only feel without thinking, you risk being manipulated. If you only think without feeling, you risk isolation. Balance ensures that you care without being controlled and that you reason without being cold. Balance teaches patience. Emotions often demand immediate action, while logic urges careful analysis. Together, they create a rhythm of thought and response that prevents both recklessness and stagnation. Patience grows when you let them work together, instead of letting one drown out the other. Another gift of balance is adaptability. Life is unpredictable, and rigid reliance on either emotion or logic leaves you vulnerable. Balance makes you flexible, allowing you to feel when necessary and reason when required. Adaptability is the hallmark of wisdom, and balance is its foundation. Emotions give you courage to start. Logic gives you discipline to continue. Many begin journeys fueled by excitement, but quit when logic is absent. Others build plans with logic, but never begin because emotion is missing. Success requires both the spark and the structure, both the flame and the frame. Balance also transforms conflict. In disagreements, unchecked emotions escalate fights, while cold logic shuts down connection. Balance allows you to acknowledge feelings while seeking solutions. This approach prevents relationships from breaking under pressure, replacing hostility with understanding. The pursuit of balance is itself a daily choice. Some days emotions will be louder, other days logic will dominate. The goal is not permanent equality, but dynamic harmony, adjusting in each moment, like tuning an instrument. Balance is a practice, not a destination. Balance also protects you from extremes. Pure logic may turn you into a machine, efficient but lifeless. Pure emotion may turn you into a storm, passionate but destructive. Balance keeps you human, strong yet tender, thoughtful yet alive. One way to practice balance is through reflection. Ask yourself not just what you feel, but why you feel it. Then ask yourself what action makes sense. Reflection honors emotion while applying logic. This practice prevents reactive decisions and fosters wisdom. Balance enhances resilience. Emotions give you strength to endure pain, while logic reminds you that pain is temporary and manageable. Together, they prevent despair and guide you towards solutions. Without both, you risk either breaking under feelings or ignoring them until they break you. Balance is also essential in decision speed. Emotions often demand urgency, while logic asks for patience. A balanced mind knows when to wait and when to act. This sense of timing prevents both missed opportunities and reckless mistakes. Emotions make you human. Logic makes you wise. The integration of both makes you whole. Ignoring either side leaves you incomplete, like trying to walk on one leg. Balance is not optional. It is the foundation of a well-lived life. When you trust only logic, you may achieve goals but feel empty inside. When you trust only emotions, you may feel alive but lack direction. Balance ensures that your life is both meaningful and purposeful. It unites fulfillment with progress. Balance also supports mental health. Emotional honesty prevents suppression, while logical structure prevents spirals. Together, they keep the mind steady. Mental health is not about eliminating feelings or thoughts, but about balancing them in healthy ways. In growth, emotions motivate you to stretch, while logic ensures you do so safely and sustainably. Without emotion, you would never leave your comfort zone. Without logic, you would take reckless leaps. Balance lets you grow boldly but wisely. Balance brings harmony to your inner world. When emotions and logic are in conflict, you feel torn. When they are aligned, you feel whole. Inner harmony is not silence of one voice, but the cooperation of both. Balance turns inner conflict into inner strength. Even spirituality requires balance. Faith without reason can lead to blind following, while reason without faith can lead to emptiness. Balance allows you to believe deeply while questioning wisely. This integration deepens both belief and understanding. Balance also transforms productivity. Emotions inspire creativity and passion for your work, while logic organizes it into effective systems. Passion fuels effort, and structure channels it into results. Without balance, you risk burning out or producing lifeless output. Finally, the ultimate lesson of balance is freedom. When emotions and logic work together, you are no longer a prisoner of either. You are free to feel without losing clarity and free to think without losing humanity. This freedom is the essence of balance, a life where the heart and mind walk side by side. Balance between emotions and logic begins with awareness. Many people live on autopilot, reacting without noticing whether they are guided by their hearts or their heads. By pausing to ask, am I reacting emotionally or am I reasoning logically? You bring consciousness into the process. Awareness is the first step to mastery. Emotions, when trusted too blindly, can create illusions. A burst of excitement can make an idea look perfect when it is not. A wave of fear can make a small obstacle look impossible. Logic tests these illusions, stripping them down to facts. Without logic, emotions can trick you. Without emotions, facts can leave you uninspired. Logic is often steady while emotions are fluid. This difference can cause tension, but it is also a strength. Emotions help you adapt quickly to new information, while logic ensures you don't get lost in the flow. Together, they create decisions that are both flexible and stable. Balance is built by valuing both steadiness and spontaneity. In leadership, balance means listening with empathy, but deciding with clarity. A leader who ignores emotions may lose their people. One who ignores logic may lose their mission. The best leaders combine both. They validate feelings while steering the ship with reason. This creates trust and results, the twin pillars of leadership. Emotions often carry wisdom that logic overlooks. Intuition, a form of emotional intelligence, can sense patterns before the conscious mind catches up. Logic then steps in to analyze whether that feeling has evidence behind it. Ignoring intuition silences part of your intelligence. Balance means respecting the whispers of the heart while confirming them with reason. Logic is essential for long-term planning. Emotions may inspire you to start, but only structure sustains progress. A burst of motivation can get you to the gym once, but logic builds the schedule that keeps you going daily. Without logic, passion burns out. Without passion, logic feels empty. Balance fuels both persistence and joy. Balance prevents emotional manipulation. Advertisements, politics, and even relationships often try to sway you with emotion alone. Logic helps you step back and ask, does this actually make sense? On the other side, balance prevents you from becoming overly skeptical. You don't dismiss feelings, you measure them wisely. When making financial decisions, emotions can tempt you into impulsive spending or panic selling. Logic creates the discipline to save and invest, yet pure logic might make you so frugal that you forget to enjoy life. Balance ensures you manage money wisely while still allowing yourself moments of joy. Balance is visible in art. Artists create with deep emotion, pouring their souls into their work. But great art also requires logic, technique, structure, and discipline. Without emotion, art is lifeless. Without logic, it is chaotic. Balance between passion and precision creates timeless beauty. Emotions connect us to purpose. Logic organizes that purpose into plans. Imagine someone driven by compassion to help others. Without logic, their efforts might scatter and fail. But without emotion, they may not care enough to try at all. Balance fuses compassion with efficiency, creating true impact. Balance also protects relationships from extremes. If emotions dominate, every disagreement can explode into drama. If logic dominates, love feels cold and transactional. A strong relationship honors emotions, love, kindness, empathy, while applying logic to resolve conflicts fairly. Balance turns fragile bonds into lasting partnerships. Another gift of balance is wisdom in communication. When you speak only from emotion, your words may wound. When you speak only from logic, your words may feel hollow. Balance allows you to express truth with empathy. It ensures that your message is both honest and kind, powerful yet considerate. Balance teaches resilience in failure. Emotions remind you that failure hurts, but logic reminds you it is not the end. Together, they prevent despair and promote learning. If you rely only on emotions, you may give up too soon. If you rely only on logic, you may ignore the emotional healing needed to continue. Balance makes failure a teacher instead of a defeat. Balance also improves problem solving. Emotions fuel creativity, offering solutions outside the box. Logic evaluates these ideas, keeping them realistic. Without emotion, solutions lack imagination. Without logic, they lack feasibility. Balance produces solutions that are both innovative and practical. One sign of maturity is the ability to balance emotions with reason. Children act impulsively on feelings. Cold rationality often defines the inexperienced adult trying to outgrow emotions. True maturity is integration, feeling deeply and thinking clearly, letting neither dominate. Balance is the hallmark of wisdom. Balance helps in negotiations. If emotions dominate, you may give too much away or react defensively. If logic dominates, you may come across as ruthless. Successful negotiation requires empathy to understand the other side and logic to secure fair agreements. Balance creates win-win outcomes. Emotions inspire you to dream big. Logic helps you break the dream into steps. Without balance, dreams stay fantasies or become burdens. But when emotions and logic cooperate, visions turn into reality through structured action. Balance bridges imagination and execution. Balance also supports self-care. Emotions remind you when you're exhausted or unfulfilled. Logic reminds you to set boundaries, prioritize rest, and maintain routines. Ignoring either creates imbalance, burnout from ignoring emotions, or laziness from ignoring logic. Self-care is honoring both the heart and the plan. Emotions without logic can lead to self-sabotage. Logic without emotion can lead to self-neglect. Balance creates self-respect, the ability to care for yourself wisely. You allow emotions to show you what you need and logic to help you meet those needs in healthy ways. Balance prevents regret. Acting too emotionally may bring regret when the consequences hit. Acting too logically may bring regret when you realize you ignored what truly mattered to your heart. Balance allows you to act in ways you can stand by, both in reason and in feeling. Emotions often speak in urgency, logic speaks in patience. Balance teaches you to listen to both voices. Sometimes urgency is a warning not to miss a chance. Sometimes patience is wisdom telling you to wait. Balance lets you discern which voice to follow. Balance strengthens integrity. Emotions reveal your values, what angers you, what excites you, what moves you. Logic ensures your actions align with those values consistently. Together, they create a life that is authentic and principled. Without balance, integrity weakens. Emotions make you brave enough to start conversations about justice, fairness, and truth. Logic ensures you present your case clearly and effectively. Social progress is always driven by the union of passion and reason. Balance fuels movements that change the world. Balance also fosters humility. Emotions remind you of your humanity. Logic reminds you of your limits. Together, they keep you grounded, preventing arrogance when you succeed and despair when you fail. Balance humbles without breaking and strengthens without hardening. In times of loss, emotions carry grief, while logic carries perspective. Emotions allow you to feel deeply, honoring what you've lost. Logic whispers that healing will come and life will continue. Balance lets you mourn without drowning, grieve without giving up on tomorrow. Emotions often seek meaning. Logic seeks understanding. Meaning without understanding may mislead. Understanding without meaning may feel empty. Balance gives you both, a life where experiences are both deeply felt and clearly comprehended. Balance improves discipline. Emotions may push you to quit when things get hard. Logic reminds you why persistence matters, yet logic alone may keep you grinding until you burn out. Emotions remind you when rest is necessary. Balance sustains discipline without destroying joy. Balance also sharpens self-awareness. When you know how emotions affect your reasoning and how reasoning affects your emotions, you gain mastery over yourself. This awareness helps you act intentionally instead of reactively. Self-awareness grows through balancing both sides of your nature. Creativity, too, flourishes in balance. Emotional passion sparks wild ideas, while logical structure filters and refines them. Without balance, creativity either burns uncontrolled or gets suffocated. Balanced creativity builds masterpieces that endure. Balance transforms anger into assertiveness. Emotions fuel the strength to stand up for yourself. Logic ensures you do so with fairness and respect. Without balance, anger becomes destructive or suppression becomes harmful. Balance channels emotion into constructive power. Balance allows you to experience joy fully. Emotions let you feel joy deeply. Logic reminds you to protect and sustain it. Without logic, joy may lead to recklessness. Without emotion, joy may pass unnoticed. Balance allows you to savor happiness while safeguarding it. Another strength of balance is perspective in success. Emotions celebrate victories, while logic reminds you to stay humble and plan for the future. Together, they prevent both arrogance and ingratitude. Success without balance often leads to downfall. Balance is visible even in health. Emotions may tempt you to indulge in comfort. Logic reminds you of long-term well-being. Yet pure logic without emotion can turn health into a burden instead of a joy. Balance makes wellness both sustainable and enjoyable. Balance is not static, it is dynamic. Some days require more emotion, others more logic. The dance between the two shifts constantly, and wisdom lies in adjusting gracefully. Balance is not found once, it is practiced daily. Finally, balance is what makes you whole. Emotions give life beauty, while logic gives it stability. Alone, each is incomplete. Together, they form harmony, a life where you think clearly, feel deeply, and act wisely. Balance is not the suppression of one voice, but the symphony of both. Chapter 8. The role of environment in clarity. Balance between emotions and logic begins with awareness. Many people live on autopilot, reacting without noticing whether they are guided by their hearts or their heads. By pausing to ask, am I reacting emotionally or am I reasoning logically? You bring consciousness into the process. Awareness is the first step to mastery. Emotions, when trusted too blindly, can create illusions. A burst of excitement can make an idea look perfect when it is not. A wave of fear can make a small obstacle look impossible. Logic tests these illusions, stripping them down to facts. Without logic, emotions can trick you. Without emotions, facts can leave you uninspired. Logic is often steady, while emotions are fluid. This difference can cause tension, but it is also a strength. Emotions help you adapt quickly to new information, while logic ensures you don't get lost in the flow. Together, they create decisions that are both flexible and stable. Balance is built by valuing both steadiness and spontaneity. In leadership, balance means listening with empathy but deciding with clarity. A leader who ignores emotions may lose their people. One who ignores logic may lose their mission. The best leaders combine both. They validate feelings while steering the ship with reason. This creates trust and results, the twin pillars of leadership. Emotions often carry wisdom that logic overlooks. Intuition, a form of emotional intelligence, can sense patterns before the conscious mind catches up. Logic then steps in to analyze whether that feeling has evidence behind it. Ignoring intuition silences part of your intelligence. Balance means respecting the whispers of the heart while confirming them with reason. Logic is essential for long-term planning. Emotions may inspire you to start, but only structure sustains progress. A burst of motivation can get you to the gym once, but logic builds the schedule that keeps you going daily. Without logic, passion burns out. Without passion, logic feels empty. Balance fuels both persistence and joy. Balance prevents emotional manipulation. Advertisements, politics, and even relationships often try to sway you with emotion alone. Logic helps you step back and ask, does this actually make sense? On the other side, balance prevents you from becoming overly skeptical. You don't dismiss feelings, you measure them wisely. When making financial decisions, emotions can tempt you into impulsive spending or panic selling. Logic creates the discipline to save and invest. Yet pure logic might make you so frugal that you forget to enjoy life. Balance ensures you manage money wisely while still allowing yourself moments of joy. Balance is visible in art. Artists create with deep emotion, pouring their souls into their work. But great art also requires logic, technique, structure, and discipline. Without emotion, art is lifeless. Without logic, it is chaotic. Balance between passion and precision creates timeless beauty. Emotions connect us to purpose. Logic organizes that purpose into plans. Imagine someone driven by compassion to help others. Without logic, their efforts might scatter and fail. But without emotion, they may not care enough to try at all. Balance fuses compassion with efficiency, creating true impact. Balance also protects relationships from extremes. If emotions dominate, every disagreement can explode into drama. If logic dominates, love feels cold and transactional. A strong relationship honors emotions, love, kindness, empathy, while applying logic to resolve conflicts fairly. Balance turns fragile bonds into lasting partnerships. Another gift of balance is wisdom in communication. When you speak only from emotion, your words may wound. When you speak only from logic, your words may feel hollow. Balance allows you to express truth with empathy. It ensures that your message is both honest and kind, powerful yet considerate. Balance teaches resilience in failure. Emotions remind you that failure hurts, but logic reminds you it is not the end. Together, they prevent despair and promote learning. If you rely only on emotions, you may give up too soon. If you rely only on logic, you may ignore the emotional healing needed to continue. Balance makes failure a teacher instead of a defeat. Balance also improves problem solving. Emotions fuel creativity, offering solutions outside the box. Logic evaluates these ideas, keeping them realistic. Without emotion, solutions lack imagination. Without logic, they lack feasibility. Balance produces solutions that are both innovative and practical. One sign of maturity is the ability to balance emotions with reason. Children act impulsively on feelings. Cold rationality often defines the inexperienced adult trying to outgrow emotions. True maturity is integration, feeling deeply and thinking clearly, letting neither dominate. Balance is the hallmark of wisdom. Balance helps in negotiations. If emotions dominate, you may give too much away or react defensively. If logic dominates, you may come across as ruthless. Successful negotiation requires empathy to understand the other side and logic to secure fair agreements. Balance creates win-win outcomes. Emotions inspire you to dream big. Logic helps you break the dream into steps. Without balance, dreams stay fantasies or become burdens. But when emotions and logic cooperate, visions turn into reality through structured action. Balance bridges imagination and execution. Balance also supports self-care. Emotions remind you when you're exhausted or unfulfilled. Logic reminds you to set boundaries, prioritize rest, and maintain routines. Ignoring either creates imbalance, burnout from ignoring emotions, or laziness from ignoring logic. Self-care is honoring both the heart and the plan. Emotions without logic can lead to self-sabotage. Logic without emotion can lead to self-neglect. Balance creates self-respect, the ability to care for yourself wisely. You allow emotions to show you what you need and logic to help you meet those needs in healthy ways. Balance prevents regret. Acting too emotionally may bring regret when the consequences hit. Acting too logically may bring regret when you realize you ignored what truly mattered to your heart. Balance allows you to act in ways you can stand by, both in reason and in feeling. Emotions often speak in urgency. Logic speaks in patience. Balance teaches you to listen to both voices. Sometimes urgency is a warning not to miss a chance. Sometimes patience is wisdom telling you to wait. Balance lets you discern which voice to follow. Balance strengthens integrity. Emotions reveal your values, what angers you, what excites you, what moves you. Logic ensures your actions align with those values consistently. Together, they create a life that is authentic and principled. Without balance, integrity weakens. Emotions make you brave enough to start conversations about justice, fairness, and truth. Logic ensures you present your case clearly and effectively. Social progress is always driven by the union of passion and reason. Balance fuels movements that change the world. Balance also fosters humility. Emotions remind you of your humanity. Logic reminds you of your limits. Together, they keep you grounded, preventing arrogance when you succeed and despair when you fail. Balance humbles without breaking and strengthens without hardening. In times of loss, emotions carry grief, while logic carries perspective. Emotions allow you to feel deeply, honoring what you've lost. Logic whispers that healing will come and life will continue. Balance lets you mourn without drowning, grieve without giving up on tomorrow. Emotions often seek meaning. Logic seeks understanding. Meaning without understanding may mislead. Understanding without meaning may feel empty. Balance gives you both. A life where experiences are both deeply felt and clearly comprehended. Balance improves discipline. Emotions may push you to quit when things get hard. Logic reminds you why persistence matters. Yet logic alone may keep you grinding until you burn out. Emotions remind you when rest is necessary. Balance sustains discipline without destroying joy. Balance also sharpens self-awareness. When you know how emotions affect your reasoning and how reasoning affects your emotions, you gain mastery over yourself. This awareness helps you act intentionally instead of reactively. Self-awareness grows through balancing both sides of your nature. Creativity, too, flourishes in balance. Emotional passion sparks wild ideas, while logical structure filters and refines them. Without balance, creativity either burns uncontrolled or gets suffocated. Balanced creativity builds masterpieces that endure. Balance transforms anger into assertiveness. Emotions fuel the strength to stand up for yourself. Logic ensures you do so with fairness and respect. Without balance, anger becomes destructive or suppression becomes harmful. Balance channels emotion into constructive power. Balance allows you to experience joy fully. Emotions let you feel joy deeply. Logic reminds you to protect and sustain it. Without logic, joy may lead to recklessness. Without emotion, joy may pass unnoticed. Balance allows you to savor happiness while safeguarding it. Another strength of balance is perspective in success. Emotions celebrate victories, while logic reminds you to stay humble and plan for the future. Together, they prevent both arrogance and ingratitude. Success without balance often leads to downfall. Balance is visible even in health. Emotions may tempt you to indulge in comfort. Logic reminds you of long-term well-being. Yet pure logic without emotion can turn health into a burden instead of a joy. Balance makes wellness both sustainable and enjoyable. Balance is not static, it is dynamic. Some days require more emotion, others more logic. The dance between the two shifts constantly, and wisdom lies in adjusting gracefully. Balance is not found once, it is practiced daily. Finally, balance is what makes you whole. Emotions give life beauty, while logic gives it stability. Alone, each is incomplete. Together, they form harmony, a life where you think clearly, feel deeply, and act wisely. Balance is not the suppression of one voice, but the symphony of both. Clarity begins with what you allow into your space. Every sound, sight, and word you expose yourself to is food for your mind. Just as your body becomes what you eat, your mind becomes what you consume. If your environment feeds you noise, you will think in noise. If it feeds you peace, you will think in peace. Your environment can either anchor you or distract you. A supportive space holds you steady, reminding you of your values and direction. A chaotic one scatters your attention, leaving you drained and unfocused. Many people underestimate how much their surroundings silently pull them away from clarity. The environment of routine creates predictability that frees your mind. When you have systems in place, where things belong, how your day starts, when you rest, your brain doesn't waste energy on small decisions. This mental space becomes available for clarity in bigger choices. Disorder in routine often translates into disorder in thought. Clarity is also shaped by the conversations you regularly hear. If you are surrounded by constant complaining, criticism, or gossip, your mind becomes clouded with negativity. If you are surrounded by encouragement, solution-focused dialogue, and meaningful discussions, your clarity sharpens. The tone of conversations in your environment matters more than you realize. Your workspace is a mirror of your mental space. A cluttered desk creates friction in focus. A well-organized one allows ideas to flow more freely. Even small touches like natural light, a plant, or an inspiring quote can shift your energy. Your workspace environment is not cosmetic, it is cognitive. The energy of people in your environment is contagious. Being around anxious, fearful people often transfers that energy to you. Being around calm, purposeful people helps you align with focus and clarity. Human energy flows invisibly, but it shapes you daily. Choose carefully who you let into your space. Environments influence courage. If your surroundings punish risk, you'll stay small. If they reward initiative, you'll grow bold. This is why some people thrive when they move to new places. Not because they changed overnight, but because the environment invited them to rise. Courage is not just internal, it is nurtured externally. Clarity deepens in environments that encourage reflection. Spaces that allow solitude, quiet, and contemplation sharpen awareness. In contrast, environments that never let you pause drown out your inner voice. The world is loud, but clarity requires environments that protect silence. The books on your shelves, the shows you watch, and the voices you hear regularly are part of your environment. They shape your inner dialogue even when you don't notice. If you surround yourself with shallow content, your clarity weakens. If you surround yourself with wisdom, your clarity strengthens. Clarity is not just about removing distractions, but about designing focus. A powerful environment doesn't simply lack noise, it actively promotes concentration. Environments with intentional design, where tools are accessible, distractions minimized, and atmosphere calming, naturally lead to sharper thinking. Your environment is also emotional. A home filled with tension or unspoken resentment clouds clarity. A home filled with kindness and respect opens space for peace. Emotional environments are invisible, but they carry weight heavier than furniture. The atmosphere of your relationships becomes the atmosphere of your mind. Environmental clarity often requires boundaries. You cannot control every space, but you can decide how much access others have to yours. Protecting your environment from constant intrusion, negativity, or chaos is not selfish, it is survival. Boundaries protect clarity the way walls protect a home. Even colors in your environment matter. Studies show that soft tones calm the mind, while harsh tones can agitate it. Light colors open mental space. Dark, cluttered visuals may close it. Surroundings constantly communicate messages to your brain. Choosing colors intentionally is choosing clarity intentionally. Clarity suffers in environments of constant urgency. If you are always surrounded by rushing people, endless deadlines, and non-stop noise, your mind will reflect that chaos. Environments that promote pace, not panic, invite clearer thought. Slow environments often produce faster results because clarity guides action. You cannot always choose your environment, but you can create sanctuaries within it. A corner of peace in a noisy home, a digital space curated for inspiration, or a morning ritual before the world intrudes can anchor your clarity. Sanctuaries don't have to be large, only intentional. Environments can either empower discipline or encourage drift. If your space is filled with temptations, distractions will rule. If your space is aligned with your goals, discipline becomes easier. Self-control is often less about willpower and more about environment design. Travel reveals how environment shapes clarity. When you step outside your usual surroundings, your mind often sharpens, noticing details and perspectives you once ignored. Change in environment disrupts autopilot, awakening awareness. That awakening is the soil in which clarity grows. The environment of technology is subtle but powerful. Constant alerts, pings, and updates fracture attention, weakening clarity. Turning off unnecessary notifications or setting digital boundaries can restore focus. Clarity often requires not more tools, but fewer interruptions. Your environment can reflect your identity, but it can also limit it. If you live in a space that reinforces old patterns, you may struggle to grow. Redesigning your environment, physically and socially, allows you to step into new versions of yourself. Change your surroundings, and you begin changing your story. Clarity is easier to lose than to gain in environments of distraction. A single loud noise or interruption can derail focus for minutes or hours. Protecting your environment is not about perfection, but about minimizing unnecessary disruptions. The fewer the breaks, the clearer the flow. The presence of nature in your environment enhances mental clarity. A plant on your desk, a window with natural light or time outside each day reminds your mind of simplicity. Nature resets overstimulated brains, replacing clutter with calm. Even small doses of nature create outsized effects. Your environment of rest deserves attention. Many people wonder why they wake up tired, while ignoring that their bedroom environment is filled with noise, screens, and clutter. Sleep is a pillar of clarity, and it is shaped by the quality of your rest environment. Protecting rest protects thought. Your diet environment also matters. What foods are easily available often decides your choices. A fridge stocked with unhealthy food weakens health clarity. A fridge stocked with nourishing food strengthens it. Environment is not just about thought, but also about the body that fuels thought. Cultural environments shape collective clarity. Societies that encourage questioning and learning produce innovation. Societies that silence thought produce stagnation. Your culture is the larger environment you live in, and it influences how clearly you and others think. Clarity thrives in environments of encouragement. When people around you believe in growth, you begin to believe in it too. But environments filled with doubt plant confusion in your mind. Belief is contagious. Your environment decides whether you catch courage or fear. Sometimes clarity requires leaving environments that no longer match your future. Staying too long in spaces built for your old self creates friction. Growth demands courage to outgrow not just people but also places. New clarity often begins with new environments. Your digital environment is also a mirror. Who you follow, what you watch, and what you consume daily reflects back into your thinking. If your digital diet is cluttered, your mental clarity will be too. Digital minimalism is not restriction, it is freedom for your mind. Environments are habits in physical form. The way your space is arranged either encourages or discourages your goals. Leaving books visible encourages reading. Leaving distractions visible encourages procrastination. Design your environment to make good habits natural and bad habits harder. Clarity requires environments that respect time. If your surroundings constantly push you into distractions, your hours vanish. But if your environment supports focus, with fewer interruptions and clear priorities, time expands. Respecting clarity means respecting time. Even financial clarity is linked to environment. Spending time in consumer-driven spaces tempts overspending. Spending time in environments that value simplicity encourages saving and investing. Where you place yourself physically often decides where your money flows. Spiritual clarity is also shaped by environment. Sacred spaces, quiet rituals, and communities of faith create environments that lift your perspective. Conversely, chaotic or negative environments can pull your spirit away from peace. Spiritual clarity thrives in environments designed for reflection and connection. Environments also teach standards unconsciously. If everyone around you cuts corners, you'll eventually blur your standards too. If everyone around you pursues excellence, you'll sharpen yours. Clarity requires choosing environments that hold you accountable to higher standards. Your environment is a silent teacher. It shapes your thoughts without speaking a word. You cannot always notice its influence daily, but over time it rewires your habits and mindset. Protecting your environment is protecting your future. Finally, clarity grows when your environment aligns with your values. When the spaces you inhabit reflect what matters to you, simplicity, growth, peace, or focus, your inner world feels at home. When they conflict, clarity struggles. Aligning environment with values is the ultimate path to a clear mind and purposeful life. Chapter 9. Building confidence through action. Confidence is not something you wait for, it is something you create. Many people mistakenly believe they must first feel confident before taking action, but in reality, confidence grows only after action is taken. Every step you make, no matter how small, builds evidence that you are capable, and evidence is the true foundation of confidence. Fear often tells you to prepare endlessly before moving. You rehearse, you analyze, and you delay, thinking that more preparation will produce confidence. But confidence does not come from imagining success. It comes from experiencing it. Even imperfect action creates more belief than perfect planning. Every time you act, you prove to yourself that you can survive uncertainty. Action becomes a mirror, reflecting back your own strength. The more mirrors you create through action, the more clearly you see your potential. Confidence is not built in thought, but in lived experience. The first step is always the hardest, because it carries the most doubt. But once you move, momentum takes over. Action creates energy, and energy creates belief. Confidence is like a flame. It cannot ignite in silence. It needs the friction of action to spark. Failure, too, is essential to building confidence. Each time you fail and rise again, you prove to yourself that you are resilient. Confidence is not the absence of failure, but the proof that failure cannot stop you. Action turns failure into feedback, and feedback into strength. Confidence grows through repetition. One action may spark belief, but repeated actions cement it. Each time you show up, you reinforce trust in yourself. Repetition transforms doubt into habit and habit into identity. You stop asking, "Can I?" and start declaring, "I do." Small actions matter most. You don't need grand gestures to build confidence. You need consistency. Each time you keep a promise to yourself, no matter how minor, you grow stronger. Confidence is not one giant leap. It is thousands of small steps honored daily. Confidence cannot be outsourced. Encouragement from others helps, but if you don't act, it fades quickly. Real confidence is internal, the quiet knowledge that you can handle what comes. That knowledge only grows when you choose action for yourself. Overthinking kills confidence. The more you dwell on "what if," the more powerless you feel. Action interrupts this cycle. It cuts through hesitation and shows you that the fears in your head are often larger than the reality outside. Action is the antidote to overthinking. Courage and confidence are linked. Courage comes first, the willingness to act despite fear. Confidence follows as proof that courage was not wasted. Each act of courage, no matter how shaky, leaves behind a trace of confidence. Over time, these traces build a strong foundation. Confidence is also contagious. When you take action, you inspire others to believe in themselves. Their energy reflects back to you, amplifying your own belief. Communities are strengthened when individuals choose action over doubt. The voice of doubt will never disappear completely. But each time you act, that voice grows quieter. You realize it has no real power, only the power you give it by standing still. Action weakens doubt by proving it wrong. Confidence grows faster when you embrace imperfection. Waiting for the perfect moment only delays growth. Taking action, even clumsily, teaches you more than waiting ever could. Imperfect progress is better than perfect hesitation. Every action builds a story you tell yourself. If you act, the story becomes one of courage and growth. If you avoid, the story becomes one of fear and hesitation. Confidence is the accumulation of the stories you choose to write with your actions. Action also creates identity. Each choice tells your subconscious who you are. The more you act with courage, the more you see yourself as someone capable. Identity fuels confidence, and identity is written in the language of daily decisions. Confidence is not loud, it is consistent. It does not come from shouting about your abilities, but from quietly proving them again and again through action. Real confidence does not need to boast because it has evidence. Clarity and confidence are connected. The more you act, the clearer your path becomes. Waiting for clarity before acting is backward. Clarity comes from moving. Action reveals possibilities you cannot see from the starting line. Confidence is not about eliminating fear. It's about shrinking it. Fear may still whisper, but action makes its voice irrelevant. When you act, you see that fear was just smoke, not fire. The more times you do this, the smaller fear becomes in your mind. Building confidence through action requires trust in the process. Results may not come immediately, but progress always does. Each step is proof that you are moving forward, and that proof accumulates into belief. Trusting small actions creates unshakable confidence. Confidence also comes from keeping promises to yourself. Every time you say you'll do something and actually do it, you build trust in your own word. Breaking promises weakens confidence, but honoring them strengthens it. Action is how you prove to yourself that your word matters. Confidence grows when you embrace discomfort. Easy actions rarely stretch you. Difficult ones build resilience and belief. By acting in discomfort, you show yourself that you can handle more than you imagined. Each stretch expands your confidence. Comparison weakens confidence. The more you measure yourself against others, the more you feel inadequate. Action shifts focus back to your own growth. Each step forward proves you are not competing with others, only with your own hesitation. Confidence is also built in silence. Not every action must be public. Quiet victories, waking up early, finishing a task, speaking kindly when angry, all build inner strength. Confidence is private before it becomes public. Action transforms doubt into skill. At first, you may stumble, but practice sharpens ability. Skill breeds confidence, and skill is only earned through repetition. Every expert you admire once began as a beginner who chose action over doubt. Confidence is earned, not given. You cannot read it into existence, and no one can hand it to you. It comes only from walking into the unknown, failing, learning, and trying again. Action is the only currency that buys confidence. Confidence thrives in momentum. Once you act, it becomes easier to act again. Each decision fuels the next, creating a chain of courage. The hardest part is starting, but once momentum builds, confidence becomes self-sustaining. Fear shrinks when faced with evidence. Action provides that evidence. Each time you succeed in something you once doubted, you shrink the fear that once paralyzed you. Over time, fear becomes less convincing, and confidence becomes your default response. Confidence also requires honesty. Action is not about proving something to others, but proving something to yourself. Pretending to be confident without acting leads to emptiness. True confidence grows when your actions align with your values. Small risks build confidence for larger ones. Speaking up in a meeting prepares you for leading a project. Taking a small step in fitness prepares you for bigger challenges. Each small act is training for greater confidence. Action compounds like interest. Confidence is humble. It does not mean thinking you can never fail. It means knowing that failure cannot break you. Action proves this truth again and again, humbling you with lessons while strengthening you with resilience. Every day presents opportunities to build confidence. Choosing to act instead of delay, to speak instead of stay silent, to try instead of withdraw. These are the moments that shape you. Confidence is not built in rare events, but in daily choices. Confidence is not the absence of nerves. Even the most experienced people feel them. The difference is that they act anyway. Action turns nervous energy into fuel. Confidence is not feeling calm before you begin. It is acting despite unease. The link between confidence and freedom is clear. The more you act, the more you realize you can shape your life. Hesitation chains you, but action breaks the links. Confidence is freedom earned through repeated courage. Confidence is not about waiting until you are ready. Readiness is a myth. Action creates readiness. The sooner you act, the sooner you feel capable. Waiting keeps you unprepared. Acting makes you prepared. Confidence deepens when you face rejection. Each time you survive no, you prove to yourself that it cannot destroy you. The sting fades, but the lesson remains. Rejection is not the end. Action through rejection builds resilience stronger than comfort ever could. Confidence is not a destination, but a practice. You do not arrive at confidence once and for all. You build it daily through repeated choices to act despite doubt. Action is not just how you begin, it is how you stay confident for life. Finally, the greatest truth is this. Confidence is not found in thought, but forged in action. Every step you take writes a new story about your strength. If you want confidence, stop waiting to feel it. Start moving, and let confidence grow with every action you choose. Confidence is not something you wait for, it is something you create. Many people mistakenly believe they must first feel confident before taking action. But in reality, confidence grows only after action is taken. Every step you make, no matter how small, builds evidence that you are capable, and evidence is the true foundation of confidence. Fear often tells you to prepare endlessly before moving. You rehearse, you analyze, and you delay, thinking that more preparation will produce confidence. But confidence does not come from imagining success. It comes from experiencing it. Even imperfect action creates more belief than perfect planning. Every time you act, you prove to yourself that you can survive uncertainty. Action becomes a mirror, reflecting back your own strength. The more mirrors you create through action, the more clearly you see your potential. Confidence is not built in thought, but in lived experience. The first step is always the hardest, because it carries the most doubt. But once you move, momentum takes over. Action creates energy, and energy creates belief. Confidence is like a flame. It cannot ignite in silence. It needs the friction of action to spark. Failure, too, is essential to building confidence. Each time you fail and rise again, you prove to yourself that you are resilient. Confidence is not the absence of failure, but the proof that failure cannot stop you. Action turns failure into feedback, and feedback into strength. Confidence grows through repetition. One action may spark belief, but repeated actions cement it. Each time you show up, you reinforce trust in yourself. Repetition transforms doubt into habit, and habit into identity. You stop asking, "Can I?" and start declaring, "I do." Small actions matter most. You don't need grand gestures to build confidence. You need consistency. Each time you keep a promise to yourself, no matter how minor, you grow stronger. Confidence is not one giant leap. It is thousands of small steps honored daily. Confidence cannot be outsourced. Encouragement from others helps, but if you don't act, it fades quickly. Real confidence is internal, the quiet knowledge that you can handle what comes. That knowledge only grows when you choose action for yourself. Overthinking kills confidence. The more you dwell on "what if," the more powerless you feel. Action interrupts this cycle. It cuts through hesitation and shows you that the fears in your head are often larger than the reality outside. Action is the antidote to overthinking. Courage and confidence are linked. Courage comes first, the willingness to act despite fear. Confidence follows, as proof that courage was not wasted. Each act of courage, no matter how shaky, leaves behind a trace of confidence. Over time, these traces build a strong foundation. Confidence is also contagious. When you take action, you inspire others to believe in themselves. Their energy reflects back to you, amplifying your own belief. Communities are strengthened when individuals choose action over doubt. The voice of doubt will never disappear completely, but each time you act, that voice grows quieter. You realize it has no real power, only the power you give it by standing still. Action weakens doubt by proving it wrong. Confidence grows faster when you embrace imperfection. Waiting for the perfect moment only delays growth. Taking action, even clumsily, teaches you more than waiting ever could. Imperfect progress is better than perfect hesitation. Every action builds a story you tell yourself. If you act, the story becomes one of courage and growth. If you avoid, the story becomes one of fear and hesitation. Confidence is the accumulation of the stories you choose to write with your actions. Action also creates identity. Each choice tells your subconscious who you are. The more you act with courage, the more you see yourself as someone capable. Identity fuels confidence, and identity is written in the language of daily decisions. Confidence is not loud, it is consistent. It does not come from shouting about your abilities, but from quietly proving them again and again through action. Real confidence does not need to boast because it has evidence. Clarity and confidence are connected. The more you act, the clearer your path becomes. Waiting for clarity before acting is backward. Clarity comes from moving. Action reveals possibilities you cannot see from the starting line. Confidence is not about eliminating fear, it's about shrinking it. Fear may still whisper, but action makes its voice irrelevant. When you act, you see that fear was just smoke, not fire. The more times you do this, the smaller fear becomes in your mind. Building confidence through action requires trust in the process. Results may not come immediately, but progress always does. Each step is proof that you are moving forward, and that proof accumulates into belief. Trusting small actions creates unshakable confidence. Confidence also comes from keeping promises to yourself. Every time you say you'll do something and actually do it, you build trust in your own word. Breaking promises weakens confidence, but honoring them strengthens it. Action is how you prove to yourself that your word matters. Confidence grows when you embrace discomfort. Easy actions rarely stretch you. Difficult ones build resilience and belief. By acting in discomfort, you show yourself that you can handle more than you imagined. Each stretch expands your confidence. Comparison weakens confidence. The more you measure yourself against others, the more you feel inadequate. Action shifts focus back to your own growth. Each step forward proves you are not competing with others, only with your own hesitation. Confidence is also built in silence. Not every action must be public. Quiet victories, waking up early, finishing a task, speaking kindly when angry, all build inner strength. Confidence is private before it becomes public. Action transforms doubt into skill. At first you may stumble, but practice sharpens ability. Skill breeds confidence, and skill is only earned through repetition. Every expert you admire once began as a beginner who chose action over doubt. Confidence is earned, not given. You cannot read it into existence, and no one can hand it to you. It comes only from walking into the unknown, failing, learning, and trying again. Action is the only currency that buys confidence. Confidence thrives in momentum. Once you act, it becomes easier to act again. Each decision fuels the next, creating a chain of courage. The hardest part is starting, but once momentum builds, confidence becomes self-sustaining. Fear shrinks when faced with evidence. Action provides that evidence. Each time you succeed in something you once doubted, you shrink the fear that once paralyzed you. Over time, fear becomes less convincing, and confidence becomes your default response. Confidence also requires honesty. Action is not about proving something to others, but proving something to yourself. Pretending to be confident without acting leads to emptiness. True confidence grows when your actions align with your values. Small risks build confidence for larger ones. Speaking up in a meeting prepares you for leading a project. Taking a small step in fitness prepares you for bigger challenges. Each small act is training for greater confidence. Action compounds like interest. Confidence is humble. It does not mean thinking you can never fail. It means knowing that failure cannot break you. Action proves this truth again and again, humbling you with lessons while strengthening you with resilience. Every day presents opportunities to build confidence. Choosing to act instead of delay, to speak instead of stay silent, to try instead of withdraw. These are the moments that shape you. Confidence is not built in rare events, but in daily choices. Confidence is not the absence of nerves. Even the most experienced people feel them. The difference is that they act anyway. Action turns nervous energy into fuel. Confidence is not feeling calm before you begin. It is acting despite unease. The link between confidence and freedom is clear. The more you act, the more you realize you can shape your life. Hesitation chains you, but action breaks the links. Confidence is freedom earned through repeated courage. Confidence is not about waiting until you are ready. Readiness is a myth. Action creates readiness. The sooner you act, the sooner you feel capable. Waiting keeps you unprepared. Acting makes you prepared. Confidence deepens when you face rejection. Each time you survive no, you prove to yourself that it cannot destroy you. The sting fades, but the lesson remains. Rejection is not the end. Action through rejection builds resilience stronger than comfort ever could. Confidence is not a destination, but a practice. You do not arrive at confidence once and for all. You build it daily through repeated choices to act despite doubt. Action is not just how you begin, it is how you stay confident for life. Finally, the greatest truth is this: confidence is not found in thought, but forged in action. Every step you take writes a new story about your strength. If you want confidence, stop waiting to feel it. Start moving, and let confidence grow with every action you choose. Chapter 10. Smarter Actions Through Reflection. Reflection is the bridge between experience and wisdom. Without reflection, actions are just motions repeated blindly. With reflection, every step you take becomes a lesson, sharpening your clarity and making the next step smarter. Action moves you forward, but reflection ensures you move in the right direction. Many people act tirelessly but make little progress because they never pause to evaluate. They confuse movement with growth. Reflection interrupts this cycle, forcing you to ask, what worked? What didn't? What can I do better? These questions turn effort into evolution. Reflection transforms mistakes into teachers. Instead of burying failures in shame, you extract lessons that prevent repeating them. Every error becomes an investment in wisdom, and each lesson makes future actions sharper. Reflection doesn't erase failure, but it redeems it. Smarter actions are born from self-awareness. Reflection helps you notice your patterns, how fear slows you, how distraction derails you, how persistence pushes you through. This awareness lets you act with precision instead of impulse. The more you know yourself, the smarter your decisions become. Reflection requires honesty. You cannot grow if you constantly excuse your choices or hide from uncomfortable truths. Honest reflection asks you to face reality, not fantasy. It is not self-criticism, but self-awareness, a clear-eyed look at what is and what could be. Reflection also creates gratitude. By pausing to notice your progress, you recognize victories you might have overlooked. Gratitude fuels motivation, reminding you how far you've come. Without reflection, small wins vanish unnoticed, robbing you of encouragement. Smarter actions come from connecting the dots. Reflection allows you to see patterns in your behavior and results. You realize which choices consistently create progress and which hold you back. By following these patterns, you act with increasing intelligence and efficiency. Time spent in reflection is not wasted. It multiplies the value of your actions. A few minutes of thought can save months of repeating mistakes. Just as sharpening a blade makes cutting easier, reflection sharpens your mind, making each action more effective. Reflection also reveals blind spots. You may think you're acting wisely until you pause and realize you've overlooked something crucial. These blind spots often hold back growth. Reflection, especially with feedback from others, shines light where you could not see. Smart reflection balances analysis with action. Too much reflection without movement becomes overthinking. Too much movement without reflection becomes recklessness. Wisdom lies in the rhythm. Act, reflect, adjust, and act again. This cycle creates continuous growth. Reflection grounds you in purpose. When you pause to ask, "Why am I doing this?" you realign your actions with your deeper values. Without reflection, it's easy to chase distractions disguised as goals. With it, you focus on what truly matters. Smarter actions require both looking back and looking forward. Reflection is not just replaying the past, it is planning the future with new insight. Each pause becomes preparation for a better next step. Reflection turns hindsight into foresight. Reflection strengthens resilience. When you fail, it helps you see that failure is not the end, but a lesson. When you succeed, it reminds you not to become complacent. Both failure and success can trap you if you don't reflect. Reflection keeps you humble and steady. Reflection also teaches patience. Instead of demanding immediate results, you learn to value progress and process. You realize growth is not always visible in the moment, but reflection reveals it over time. Patience grows when you see evidence of steady improvement. Journaling is one of the simplest tools for reflection. Writing forces clarity. Thoughts that swirl in your head become concrete on paper. Journals let you track progress, notice patterns, and capture lessons. They become a record of growth and a guide for future action. Reflection can be quiet or guided. Sometimes you sit in silence, reviewing your day. Other times you use questions like, what did I learn? What challenged me? What would I do differently? Both methods sharpen awareness. Reflection is flexible but always purposeful. Reflection also helps regulate emotions. Acting in anger or fear often leads to regret. By pausing to reflect on your feelings, you regain control. You see emotions as signals, not dictators. This emotional clarity turns impulsive reactions into thoughtful responses. Smarter actions are often small adjustments discovered through reflection. You don't always need dramatic change. Sometimes a minor shift in routine or perspective unlocks huge progress. Reflection helps you notice these subtle improvements that otherwise remain hidden. Reflection builds humility. It reminds you that no matter how much you know, there is always more to learn. Humility keeps you open, and openness invites growth. Without reflection, ego grows unchecked, and mistakes repeat themselves. Reflection also strengthens decision-making. By reviewing past choices, you learn how to evaluate risks, spot patterns, and trust your judgment. Each reflection session makes your decisions sharper and more confident. Decision-making becomes a skill refined over time. Clarity grows from reflection. When life feels confusing, action alone may not solve it. Reflection gives space to untangle thoughts, to separate noise from truth. It slows you down long enough to see clearly. Smart actions follow clarity, not confusion. Reflection also reminds you of your why. Daily life often pulls you into busyness that feels urgent but unimportant. Pausing to reflect reconnects you to your deeper goals. Acting from why creates smarter, more meaningful results. Smarter actions come from learning not just from your life, but from others. Reflection includes studying role models, mentors, and stories. Their mistakes become your lessons, and their wisdom becomes your shortcut. Reflection expands beyond yourself into the collective wisdom of humanity. Reflection deepens discipline. Each review of your actions either confirms your commitment or exposes where you slipped. This accountability sharpens consistency. Discipline grows when you regularly check your progress instead of drifting unconsciously. Reflection helps you choose priorities. Without it, everything feels equally urgent. With it, you see what actually moves you closer to your goals. Acting without priorities scatters energy. Acting with reflection channels it. Even creativity benefits from reflection. Raw ideas may flow freely, but reflection refines them. It asks, which ideas matter most? Which align with my vision? Without reflection, creativity is chaos. With it, creativity becomes innovation. Reflection makes failure less frightening. When you know that every mistake will become a lesson, you stop fearing them. This freedom encourages bolder action. Confidence grows because reflection ensures no effort is wasted. Smarter actions are sustainable actions. Reflection helps you see whether your pace is healthy or self-destructive. Without it, you risk burnout by pushing too hard or stagnation by moving too little. Reflection balances ambition with sustainability. Reflection also turns memories into wisdom. Experiences fade quickly when unexamined, but reflection preserves their lessons. What you reflect on becomes part of you, shaping how you think and act in the future. Reflection teaches adaptability. Reviewing your results helps you pivot quickly when something doesn't work. Instead of repeating mistakes, you change course. Adaptability comes not from luck, but from reflecting often and adjusting wisely. Smarter actions flow from intentional reflection, not casual thought. Casual thought wanders aimlessly. Reflection asks targeted questions. The quality of your reflection determines the quality of your future actions. Reflection also enhances relationships. By reviewing your interactions, you see where you could have listened more, spoken less, or shown more empathy. This awareness improves future communication, strengthening bonds with others. Reflection is a practice of slowing down in a fast world. While others rush blindly, you pause, review, and refine. This gives you an advantage. Your actions are sharper because they are guided, not impulsive. Smarter actions come from balancing reflection with execution. Reflection alone builds plans without progress. Action alone builds progress without wisdom, but together they create mastery. The loop of action and reflection is the engine of growth. Reflection also strengthens confidence. Each time you see your progress and learn from mistakes, you realize you are growing steadily. Confidence is not built on perfection, but on proof of learning. Reflection provides that proof. Finally, reflection turns life into a teacher. Every day becomes valuable because you pause to extract its lessons. Nothing is wasted, not failure, not success, not even boredom. Reflection converts experience into wisdom, and wisdom guides smarter actions. Reflection is not just about looking backward. It is also about recognizing the present moment. Too often, we act out of habit without noticing the choices we're making right now. Reflection pauses the automatic flow of life and says, "Pay attention. This moment matters." When you live with awareness, every action gains intelligence. Smart reflection asks better questions. Instead of only asking, "Why did this go wrong?" you can ask, "What can I learn? How can this guide my next step? What patterns do I see repeating?" The quality of your questions determines the quality of your actions. Reflection makes your inner dialogue sharper. Reflection is not about blame, but about growth. Many people use reflection to criticize themselves endlessly, but true reflection is constructive, not destructive. It looks at mistakes with curiosity, not condemnation. This approach makes you wiser without making you weaker. Every reflection session is a mirror. It shows you not only what you did, but who you are becoming. If you see courage, you can celebrate it. If you see hesitation, you can address it. Without reflection, you may drift far from your values without realizing it. Reflection prevents wasted effort. Imagine working hard in the wrong direction for years. Without stopping to reflect, you may not notice until too late. Reflection checks your compass, ensuring your effort aligns with your goals. It's not just about working harder, it's about working smarter. Smarter actions require perspective, and reflection provides it. In the heat of the moment, challenges feel overwhelming. Reflection pulls you back, letting you see the bigger picture. Problems that seemed massive shrink when viewed with time and distance. Perspective makes action wiser. Reflection also sharpens emotional intelligence. By reviewing how you reacted in conversations, you notice when you were impatient, defensive, or dismissive. This awareness equips you to respond better next time. Emotional clarity leads to smarter relationships and actions. Reflection turns chaos into clarity. When life feels messy and overwhelming, sitting down to reflect helps you sort thoughts, prioritize, and simplify. The act of organizing your mind makes your actions deliberate instead of desperate. Clarity begins with reflection. Smarter actions flow from identifying patterns in reflection. If you always procrastinate at the same stage of a task, reflection reveals it. Once you see the pattern, you can address it directly. Awareness is the first step to breaking cycles. Reflection also builds resilience by reframing failure. Instead of saying, "I failed, so I'm not capable," you say, "I failed, so I learned something valuable." This mindset ensures failure feeds growth instead of fear. Resilient people reflect their way into strength. The act of reflection slows you down in a world addicted to speed. Fast choices often lead to regret. Reflection creates a buffer, giving your wisdom time to catch up with your impulses. Slowness, when intentional, is a strategy for smarter action. Reflection also deepens gratitude for mistakes. Strange as it seems, many of your failures carry the seeds of your greatest growth. Reflection helps you uncover those hidden gifts. Gratitude turns regret into appreciation, and that perspective fuels smarter choices in the future. Smarter actions are specific, and reflection helps you get there. Vague reflection like, "I'll do better next time," creates no change. But specific insights like, "I'll prepare earlier," or "I'll ask for feedback sooner," create targeted action. Reflection makes growth concrete. Reflection keeps you aligned with your values. In the rush of life, it's easy to act for convenience or approval rather than integrity. Reflecting regularly brings you back to your principles, ensuring your actions reflect your deeper truth. Reflection sharpens long-term vision. While daily action keeps you moving, reflection ensures you're moving toward the right horizon. Without it, short-term wins may distract you from long-term goals. Reflection connects today's steps to tomorrow's destiny. Reflection also strengthens adaptability. When circumstances change, reflection helps you pivot instead of resisting. You evaluate what's different, what remains true, and how to adjust. Adaptability is less about instinct and more about consistent reflection. Smarter actions are intentional, and reflection gives you that intention. Instead of reacting impulsively, you respond deliberately. Reflection shifts you from living by chance to living by choice. Intentional living is born from regular reflection. Reflection cultivates humility by reminding you that you don't know everything. Each review of your actions exposes gaps in your knowledge. This humility keeps you teachable, and teachability keeps you growing. Confidence without humility becomes arrogance, but reflection balances the two. Reflection also transforms routines into rituals. Brushing your teeth, exercising, or working may feel ordinary, but reflecting on why you do them turns them into meaningful acts. Purpose elevates action, and reflection brings purpose into focus. Reflection turns discipline into self-respect. Each time you review your choices, you see how following through honors your own word. This recognition builds pride in discipline, not as punishment, but as a commitment to yourself. Smarter actions are often quieter actions. Reflection shows you that loud, dramatic choices aren't always best. Sometimes the smartest move is subtle, a small adjustment, a calm decision, a steady step. Reflection uncovers these quieter strengths. Reflection helps prevent repeating mistakes in relationships. By pausing after arguments or misunderstandings, you identify what triggered the conflict and how to handle it better next time. Smarter actions emerge from reflection, building deeper connections. Reflection brings balance between ambition and rest. Without it, you may push too hard and burn out, or rest too much and stagnate. Reflection asks, am I pushing or pausing at the right time? Balance follows this question, and balance makes action sustainable. Reflection requires honesty about distractions. Many of us waste hours daily without noticing. By reflecting, you track where time leaks away. Awareness of distractions is the first step to eliminating them. Time clarity creates smarter time use. Smarter actions are born from reviewing successes too, not just failures. Reflection on what went right teaches you which behaviors to repeat. Success leaves clues, and reflection ensures you don't miss them. Celebrating wins sharpens future strategies. Reflection also builds compassion for yourself. When you see your progress over time, you recognize how much effort you've put in, even if you're not yet where you want to be. Compassion prevents harsh self-criticism and creates encouragement to keep going. Reflection encourages intentional growth rather than accidental growth. Without it, you may improve slowly, but only by chance. With it, you improve quickly because you're deliberately choosing what to change. Growth by design always outpaces growth by accident. Reflection also helps you simplify decisions. Instead of drowning in endless options, you look back at what has worked before. Past lessons guide future choices. Reflection turns decision-making from confusion into clarity. Reflection trains patience with progress. By reviewing how far you've come, you stop expecting overnight transformation. You see growth as gradual and steady. Patience keeps you consistent, and consistency builds lasting results. Reflection strengthens leadership. Leaders who reflect on their decisions avoid repeating mistakes and build trust with their teams. Reflection allows leaders to admit when they were wrong, adapt quickly, and act with wisdom. Smart leadership requires reflective humility. Smarter actions are proactive, not reactive. Reflection equips you to anticipate challenges instead of always reacting to them. By reviewing patterns, you prepare for obstacles before they arrive. Proactivity creates control, and control breeds confidence. Reflection also reveals hidden strengths. Often, you don't realize how resilient, creative, or resourceful you are until you look back. Recognizing these strengths empowers you to act with greater confidence in the future. Reflection uncovers your hidden capabilities. Reflection creates meaning from pain. Hard times often feel pointless while you're in them, but reflecting afterward reveals growth. Pain without reflection is suffering. Pain with reflection is transformation. This shift makes future challenges easier to face. Reflection allows you to measure alignment with your goals. Without it, you may drift, spending energy on things that don't matter. With it, you adjust, ensuring that your actions match your true priorities. Alignment turns effort into effectiveness. Smarter actions come from reflecting regularly, not occasionally. A once-a-year review is helpful, but daily or weekly reflection builds continuous adjustment. The more frequent the reflection, the sharper the action. Reflection is most powerful when it's a habit. Reflection also sharpens intuition. As you review past choices, you learn to trust your gut when it was right and refine it when it was wrong. Over time, your instincts become more reliable. Reflection turns raw intuition into refined wisdom. Finally, reflection teaches you that every day is a classroom. Every success, every mistake, every interaction contains a lesson if you pause to find it. Reflection ensures that nothing in your life is wasted. Experience alone does not make you wiser. Reflection does. Chapter 11. Creating systems to prevent overthinking. Reflection is not just about looking backward. It is also about recognizing the present moment. Too often we act out of habit without noticing the choices we're making right now. Reflection pauses the automatic flow of life and says, "Pay attention. This moment matters." When you live with awareness, every action gains intelligence. Smart reflection asks better questions. Instead of only asking, "Why did this go wrong?" you can ask, "What can I learn? How can this guide my next step?" What patterns do I see repeating? The quality of your questions determines the quality of your actions. Reflection makes your inner dialogue sharper. Reflection is not about blame, but about growth. Many people use reflection to criticize themselves endlessly. But true reflection is constructive, not destructive. It looks at mistakes with curiosity, not condemnation. This approach makes you wiser without making you weaker. Every reflection session is a mirror. It shows you not only what you did, but who you are becoming. If you see courage, you can celebrate it. If you see hesitation, you can address it. Without reflection, you may drift far from your values without realizing it. Reflection prevents wasted effort. Imagine working hard in the wrong direction for years. Without stopping to reflect, you may not notice until too late. Reflection checks your compass, ensuring your effort aligns with your goals. It's not just about working harder, it's about working smarter. Smarter actions require perspective, and reflection provides it. In the heat of the moment, challenges feel overwhelming. Reflection pulls you back, letting you see the bigger picture. Problems that seemed massive shrink when viewed with time and distance. Perspective makes action wiser. Reflection also sharpens emotional intelligence. By reviewing how you reacted in conversations, you notice when you were impatient, defensive, or dismissive. This awareness equips you to respond better next time. Emotional clarity leads to smarter relationships and actions. Reflection turns chaos into clarity. When life feels messy and overwhelming, sitting down to reflect helps you sort thoughts, prioritize, and simplify. The act of organizing your mind makes your actions deliberate instead of desperate. Clarity begins with reflection. Smarter actions flow from identifying patterns in reflection. If you always procrastinate at the same stage of a task, reflection reveals it. Once you see the pattern, you can address it directly. Awareness is the first step to breaking cycles. Reflection also builds resilience by reframing failure. Instead of saying, "I failed, so I'm not capable," you say, "I failed, so I learned something valuable." This mindset ensures failure feeds growth instead of fear. Resilient people reflect their way into strength. The act of reflection slows you down in a world addicted to speed. Fast choices often lead to regret. Reflection creates a buffer, giving your wisdom time to catch up with your impulses. Slowness, when intentional, is a strategy for smarter action. Reflection also deepens gratitude for mistakes. Strange as it seems, many of your failures carry the seeds of your greatest growth. Reflection helps you uncover those hidden gifts. Gratitude turns regret into appreciation, and that perspective fuels smarter choices in the future. Smarter actions are specific, and reflection helps you get there. Vague reflection like, "I'll do better next time," creates no change, but specific insights like, "I'll prepare earlier," or "I'll ask for feedback sooner," create targeted action. Reflection makes growth concrete. Reflection keeps you aligned with your values. In the rush of life, it's easy to act for convenience or approval rather than integrity. Reflecting regularly brings you back to your principles, ensuring your actions reflect your deeper truth. Reflection sharpens long-term vision. While daily action keeps you moving, reflection ensures you're moving toward the right horizon. Without it, short-term wins may distract you from long-term goals. Reflection connects today's steps to tomorrow's destiny. Reflection also strengthens adaptability. When circumstances change, reflection helps you pivot instead of resisting. You evaluate what's different, what remains true, and how to adjust. Adaptability is less about instinct and more about consistent reflection. Smarter actions are intentional, and reflection gives you that intention. Instead of reacting impulsively, you respond deliberately. Reflection shifts you from living by chance to living by choice. Intentional living is born from regular reflection. Reflection cultivates humility by reminding you that you don't know everything. Each review of your actions exposes gaps in your knowledge. This humility keeps you teachable, and teachability keeps you growing. Confidence without humility becomes arrogance, but reflection balances the two. Reflection also transforms routines into rituals. Brushing your teeth, exercising, or working may feel ordinary, but reflecting on why you do them turns them into meaningful acts. Purpose elevates action, and reflection brings purpose into focus. Reflection turns discipline into self-respect. Each time you review your choices, you see how following through honors your own word. This recognition builds pride in discipline, not as punishment, but as a commitment to yourself. Smarter actions are often quieter actions. Reflection shows you that loud, dramatic choices aren't always best. Sometimes the smartest move is subtle, a small adjustment, a calm decision, a steady step. Reflection uncovers these quieter strengths. Reflection helps prevent repeating mistakes in relationships. By pausing after arguments or misunderstandings, you identify what triggered the conflict and how to handle it better next time. Smarter actions emerge from reflection, building deeper connections. Reflection brings balance between ambition and rest. Without it, you may push too hard and burn out, or rest too much and stagnate. Reflection asks, am I pushing or pausing at the right time? Balance follows this question, and balance makes actions sustainable. Reflection requires honesty about distractions. Many of us waste hours daily without noticing. By reflecting, you track where time leaks away. Awareness of distractions is the first step to eliminating them. Time clarity creates smarter time use. Smarter actions are born from reviewing successes too, not just failures. Reflection on what went right teaches you which behaviors to repeat. Success leaves clues, and reflection ensures you don't miss them. Celebrating wins sharpens future strategies. Reflection also builds compassion for yourself. When you see your progress over time, you recognize how much effort you've put in, even if you're not yet where you want to be. Compassion prevents harsh self-criticism and creates encouragement to keep going. Reflection encourages intentional growth rather than accidental growth. Without it, you may improve slowly, but only by chance. With it, you improve quickly because you're deliberately choosing what to change. Growth by design always outpaces growth by accident. Reflection also helps you simplify decisions. Instead of drowning in endless options, you look back at what has worked before. Past lessons guide future choices. Reflection turns decision-making from confusion into clarity. Reflection trains patience with progress. By reviewing how far you've come, you stop expecting overnight transformation. You see growth as gradual and steady. Patience keeps you consistent, and consistency builds lasting results. Reflection strengthens leadership. Leaders who reflect on their decisions avoid repeating mistakes and build trust with their teams. Reflection allows leaders to admit when they were wrong, adapt quickly, and act with wisdom. Smart leadership requires reflective humility. Smarter actions are proactive, not reactive. Reflection equips you to anticipate challenges instead of always reacting to them. By reviewing patterns, you prepare for obstacles before they arrive. Proactivity creates control, and control breeds confidence. Reflection also reveals hidden strengths. Often you don't realize how resilient, creative, or resourceful you are until you look back. Recognizing these strengths empowers you to act with greater confidence in the future. Reflection uncovers your hidden capabilities. Reflection creates meaning from pain. Hard times often feel pointless while you're in them, but reflecting afterward reveals growth. Pain without reflection is suffering. Pain with reflection is transformation. This shift makes future challenges easier to face. Reflection allows you to measure alignment with your goals. Without it, you may drift, spending energy on things that don't matter. With it, you adjust, ensuring that your actions match your true priorities. Alignment turns effort into effectiveness. Smarter actions come from reflecting regularly, not occasionally. A once-a-year review is helpful, but daily or weekly reflection builds continuous adjustment. The more frequent the reflection, the sharper the action. Reflection is most powerful when it's a habit. Reflection also sharpens intuition. As you review past choices, you learn to trust your gut when it was right and refine it when it was wrong. Over time, your instincts become more reliable. Reflection turns raw intuition into refined wisdom. Finally, reflection teaches you that every day is a classroom. Every success, every mistake, every interaction contains a lesson if you pause to find it. Reflection ensures that nothing in your life is wasted. Experience alone does not make you wiser. Reflection does. Overthinking steals time because every decision feels heavier than it is. Systems lighten that weight. By creating predetermined choices, such as what time you'll work out or what order you'll tackle tasks, you stop treating small actions like life or death dilemmas. The less weight you give to the small, the more energy you preserve for the big. One of the greatest strengths of systems is that they reduce the emotional burden of choice. When you rely only on willpower, your feelings decide for you, and feelings are unreliable. Systems replace emotion with structure. They make the hard choice automatic, even on days when you don't feel motivated. Overthinking often grows from a fear of making the wrong choice. Systems address this fear by creating consistency. Even if the system isn't perfect, it produces steady progress. The fear of "what if" is silenced when you know, "this is what I always do." Consistency reduces fear, and reduced fear prevents overthinking. The human brain loves patterns. When life has no pattern, the brain scrambles to create one, often through endless thought loops. Systems provide healthy patterns, freeing your brain from needing to invent them. Instead of spinning in circles, you follow a track already laid out. Overthinking thrives when goals feel distant. Systems bring them closer by breaking them down into daily steps. Want to write a book? A system of writing 1 page a day makes the dream tangible. Want to save money? A system of automatic transfers builds progress silently. Systems turn dreams into habits. Rituals are powerful systems disguised as routines. Morning rituals, evening rituals, and pre-performance rituals tell your brain what to expect. They cut away doubt and hesitation, preparing your mind for action. Rituals are systems with meaning, and meaning makes systems sustainable. Overthinking fades when you create if-then systems. For example, if I feel anxious, then I'll take a walk. Or if I finish work, then I'll write my journal. These simple rules reduce decision fatigue and prepare you for moments of stress. Systems give answers before questions appear. Systems also protect you from analysis paralysis. Too many options freeze the mind. A system, however, narrows choices to a clear path. Instead of asking endlessly, which is best, you simply follow the structure. Progress beats perfection every time. A calendar can be one of the simplest systems against overthinking. Instead of debating what to do daily, your schedule decides for you. The act of placing tasks in time removes the endless question of when. Calendars convert intention into execution. Overthinking often appears as procrastination. Systems break procrastination by lowering the barrier to action. A rule like work for just 5 minutes starts momentum, and momentum grows naturally. Small, repeatable systems prevent hesitation from becoming paralysis. Systems provide closure. Overthinking thrives when tasks are left unfinished, lingering in your mind. By creating end-of-day routines, like clearing your workspace or reviewing your checklist, you signal completion. Closure frees your thoughts from carrying unfinished business. Overthinking also comes from carrying too many responsibilities in your head. External systems like to-do lists, reminders, and digital apps unload that burden. Once written down, the mind can rest. Systems act as external memory, giving clarity back to the brain. Systems protect your priorities. Without them, urgent but unimportant tasks take over, and your true goals get lost. By setting systems for priorities, such as important tasks first thing in the morning, you ensure clarity survives daily chaos. Systems also reduce conflict. In relationships or teams, unclear expectations lead to overthinking and frustration. A system of communication, shared schedules or roles eliminates guesswork. Systems replace tension with structure. Overthinking thrives in reactive living. Systems shift you into proactive living. When you design your routines ahead of time, you stop living at the mercy of circumstances. Systems don't remove surprises, but they give you stability when surprises come. Systems create mental freedom by automating the mundane. Imagine if every meal, outfit, or basic task had to be decided fresh daily. The weight would be exhausting. But by systemizing these basics, you free mental bandwidth for creative, meaningful work. Overthinking loves open-ended tasks. Systems add structure to make them actionable. Instead of "get healthy," a system says, "exercise at 7 a.m. for 20 minutes." Systems transform vague intentions into specific steps, reducing mental fog. A simple but powerful system is batching. Instead of constantly switching tasks, you group similar ones together. Emails at one time, errands in one trip, planning in one block. Batching eliminates scattered focus and reduces the thought clutter of constant transitions. Systems also protect against decision regret. Overthinking often spirals from wondering if you chose wrong. But when your actions follow a system you trust, regret disappears. You know the choice wasn't random. It was part of a proven process. Reflection makes systems stronger. Without reflection, systems can grow stale or irrelevant. By regularly reviewing them, you adapt them to your current life. A good system is alive, flexible, and responsive. Reflection plus systems equals evolution. Systems save willpower. Every time you deliberate, you spend energy. When the system decides for you, you conserve strength for challenges that truly matter. Willpower is limited. Systems preserve it. Overthinking often happens late at night when the brain replays the day. A nightly shutdown system, writing down tomorrow's tasks, reviewing today's progress, quiets that loop. The brain rests when it knows the system has captured everything. Systems also reduce emotional storms. When stress hits, your mind tends to spiral. But if you have a calming system, deep breathing, a mantra, a walk, you prevent overthinking from taking over. Emotional systems guard clarity. Even creativity benefits from systems. Many think creativity thrives on chaos, but in truth, structure fuels it. Systems like scheduled brainstorming or timed writing sessions prevent overthinking ideas to death. Creativity grows in boundaries, not in endless uncertainty. Systems make delegation easier. Without clear systems, giving tasks to others creates confusion and worry. With systems, everyone knows the process. Delegation without overthinking becomes possible when structure guides the work. Overthinking often arises when you feel out of control. Systems restore control by showing you that there is a plan. Even in uncertainty, the system provides an anchor. Anchors give peace, and peace quiets the noisy mind. Systems also encourage progress tracking. By logging workouts, savings, or habits, you eliminate the need to wonder, am I improving? The evidence is visible. Data silences doubt. A morning system prevents decision overload before the day even begins. Laying out clothes, prepping breakfast, or pre-planning the first task makes mornings smooth. When the start is clear, the day feels lighter. Overthinking has no space to take root. Systems also enhance discipline by making discipline automatic. Instead of fighting yourself every day, you let the system carry you. For example, setting recurring reminders to drink water or stand up prevents overthinking whether you should or shouldn't. Overthinking thrives in disorganization. A cluttered home or workspace constantly signals unfinished business. A cleaning system, like 5 minutes of tidying each night, keeps order. Order reduces mental noise. Systems also make saying no easier. Overthinking often comes from guilt or hesitation in declining requests. But a personal system, like no work calls after 7 p.m., removes debate. Systems protect boundaries by setting rules ahead of time. Your health benefits from systems too. Overthinking what diet or workout to follow wastes energy. A set plan simplifies choices, allowing you to act instead of spiral. Healthy living becomes easier when systems replace constant deliberation. Systems teach trust. At first, it may feel strange to rely on them, but over time, as they prove effective, you relax into them. This trust reduces mental strain. You no longer question every step. You simply walk the path. Systems also help in finances. Automatic savings or bill payments prevent endless worrying about money. Instead of stressing over dates and amounts, the system manages it. Peace of mind grows when finances are automated. The best systems are invisible. They fade into the background, letting life flow smoothly. You stop noticing them, yet they silently support you. Invisible systems are the most powerful because they save energy without demanding attention. Finally, systems don't remove freedom, they create it. By simplifying small decisions, they give you the space to focus on what truly matters: relationships, creativity, purpose. Systems are not the enemy of freedom, they are its foundation. Chapter 12. Living with a clear mind and bold action. A clear mind is not empty, it is focused. When mental clutter fades, what remains is space for purpose, creativity, and decisive action. Clarity gives you direction, and direction makes boldness possible. Without clarity, action hesitates. With clarity, action strikes. Living with a clear mind means refusing to carry unnecessary weight. Worry, regret, and imagined fears fill the mind with noise. Letting them go is not weakness, but wisdom. By clearing the unnecessary, you create room for what truly matters. A clear mind is a strong mind. Bold action is not recklessness, it is courage guided by clarity. When you act boldly, you are not ignoring fear, you are moving through it with purpose. Clarity whispers, "This is right," and boldness answers, "Then let's go." Living with clarity requires daily renewal. The mind, like a room, gathers dust. Reflection, journaling, and rest sweep it clean. A single clear moment is not enough. Clarity must be maintained. Daily renewal ensures daily courage. Boldness begins in small choices. You don't leap into greatness, you step into it gradually. Each clear, bold choice builds momentum. Over time, boldness becomes not an occasional act, but your natural way of living. Clarity also means knowing what you will not do. A clear mind sets boundaries. It says no to distractions, toxic habits, and unnecessary noise. These refusals are acts of boldness too, the courage to protect your focus and energy. Living boldly is not about avoiding mistakes. It's about accepting them as part of progress. Clarity tells you mistakes are lessons, not prisons. Boldness lets you act anyway, knowing failure will refine you, not define you. A clear mind gives strength in decision-making. When the fog of doubt lifts, choices feel lighter. You stop asking endlessly, "What if?" and instead ask, "What now?" Boldness grows in this shift because clarity creates confidence. Living with clarity requires honesty. You cannot see clearly if you refuse to face truth. Lies to yourself cloud the mind. Honesty clears the fog, and though truth may sting, it always frees. Boldness follows truth, because truth is a solid ground to stand on. Bold action inspires others. When you live with courage, you remind others of their own strength. Clarity creates confidence, and confidence is contagious. By acting boldly, you give others permission to do the same. A clear mind is not distracted by comparison. It knows everyone's path is unique. Overthinking thrives on comparison, but clarity says, "I will walk my road." Boldness then becomes possible because you're no longer trapped by someone else's pace. Living boldly requires trust in yourself. A clear mind does not mean you know every answer. It means you trust yourself to learn, adapt, and act anyway. Trust fuels courage. Without trust, clarity feels fragile. With trust, clarity becomes power. Clarity often comes from stillness. In a noisy world, silence becomes medicine. Stillness lets thoughts settle, showing you what truly matters. Out of this silence rises bold action, rooted not in panic, but in peace. Boldness grows stronger when paired with purpose. A clear mind aligns action with meaning. Without purpose, boldness can turn reckless. With purpose, boldness becomes unstoppable. Purpose sharpens courage into precision. Living with clarity means focusing on the present. The past holds lessons, the future holds dreams, but the present holds power. Overthinking lives in what was or what will be. Clarity lives in now. Bold action begins where your feet are. Boldness is not about eliminating fear, but about shrinking it. Fear feels huge in the mind, but action shrinks it to size. Clarity reveals that most fears are shadows, not monsters. Boldness proves it by moving forward anyway. Clarity creates simplicity. When your mind is clear, choices become obvious. Complexity confuses, but clarity cuts through. Simplicity frees you to act boldly because you no longer waste energy untangling confusion. Living with a clear mind is living with intention. Every action has purpose. You stop scattering your energy and start channeling it. Intentional living makes every step meaningful, and meaningful steps are always bold. Boldness requires resilience. A clear mind does not expect perfection, but prepares for setbacks. When failure comes, resilience lifts you. Boldness does not avoid storms, it learns to walk through them with strength. Clarity reduces noise, but it also amplifies vision. When distractions are cleared, your goals shine brighter. Boldness grows when the goal feels vivid. You act with confidence because you can see clearly where you are going. Living boldly is about choosing progress over perfection. A clear mind reminds you that waiting for the perfect moment is delay in disguise. Bold action says, "I'll begin now and improve along the way." That is where growth lives. Clarity helps you conserve energy. Overthinking drains. Clarity restores. By focusing only on what matters, you keep energy for bold moves. The less wasted energy on doubts, the more fuel you have for decisive action. Bold action does not guarantee success, but it guarantees growth. Each bold step reveals something new about yourself and your path. Success may come or not, but growth is inevitable, and growth, in the long run, is the greatest success. Clarity makes boldness sustainable. Acting boldly without thought burns out quickly. Acting with clarity fuels consistency. A clear, bold life is not a sprint. It is a steady stride that can last a lifetime. A clear mind frees you from the trap of constant approval seeking. When you know what matters, you no longer need validation for every move. Boldness grows from this independence. You act not for applause, but for truth. Living boldly is also about serving others. Clarity shows you that life is not only about personal gain, but about impact. Boldness then becomes generosity, the courage to give, to lead, to help. Bold action changes lives beyond your own. Clarity requires courage to let go. The more you cling to old habits, toxic ties, or outdated beliefs, the heavier your mind becomes. Boldness says, "I release what no longer serves me." In that release, clarity shines. Bold action thrives on preparation. Clarity prepares the ground by removing distractions. Preparation fuels confidence, and confidence fuels courage. Boldness is not impulsive. It is clarity plus readiness plus courage. Living with clarity means making fewer but stronger commitments. You stop spreading yourself thin. Every yes is intentional, and every no is protective. This strength of focus makes your bold actions impactful instead of diluted. Boldness lives in action, not imagination. A clear mind doesn't spend endless hours wondering, what if? It spends energy asking, what now? Bold action belongs to those who do, not just those who dream. Clarity makes boldness calm. Many imagine bold people as loud and restless, but true boldness is steady. It is quiet strength, the courage to act without noise. Calm clarity is more powerful than frantic ambition. Living boldly is also living with self-respect. Clarity shows you that every action reflects who you are becoming. Boldness respects that truth and acts accordingly. Confidence grows when your choices align with your identity. Clarity teaches patience in boldness. You don't need every result immediately. You trust the process, knowing bold seeds take time to grow. Impatience creates recklessness, but patience makes boldness wise. Boldness is reinforced by evidence. Each time you act, you see results. That evidence builds confidence, making the next bold step easier. Over time, action becomes your habit, and hesitation becomes your stranger. Clarity clears the path. Boldness walks it. Together, they form the rhythm of a powerful life. One without the other is incomplete. Clarity without boldness is thought without movement. Boldness without clarity is motion without direction. But together they are unstoppable. Living with a clear mind and bold action is not reserved for the extraordinary. It is a choice available to anyone, every day. By clearing mental clutter, trusting your purpose, and acting with courage, you build a life of impact. A life not wasted in hesitation, but lived fully, boldly, and with clarity. Clarity is a gift you give yourself daily. It is not something you wait to arrive, it is something you create. By removing distractions, quieting noise, and focusing on essentials, you reclaim control of your thoughts. A clear mind is not accidental, it is intentional discipline. Boldness grows when you practice courage in private moments. Choosing to speak truth, to stay disciplined, or to act despite discomfort are all acts of quiet boldness. These small, consistent choices train you for larger, more visible leaps. Private courage builds public strength. A clear mind does not chase everything at once. It knows that chasing everything is chasing nothing. Focus creates depth, and depth creates impact. By choosing fewer battles, you win greater victories. Simplicity is not weakness, it is mastery. Bold action is not about being fearless, but about being faithful to your vision. Fear will always whisper, but faith answers louder. When your mind is clear about where you're headed, boldness becomes a duty, not an option. You move because your vision demands it. Living with clarity means recognizing the difference between noise and signal. Not every opinion deserves your energy. Not every opportunity deserves your time. The clear mind filters wisely. The bold heart acts on what remains. Clarity allows you to detach from results. You know that you cannot control every outcome, but you can control your actions. Boldness lives in that freedom, the willingness to move forward without needing guarantees. Living boldly requires resilience against criticism. A clear mind reminds you that every bold step will attract both support and opposition. If you wait for universal approval, you'll never act. Clarity gives you focus. Boldness gives you strength to endure judgment. A clear mind simplifies priorities. Instead of juggling dozens of goals, you choose what matters most. Bold action follows this simplicity because when you know what matters, you can pour yourself fully into it. Focus fuels courage. Boldness is strengthened by consistency. One bold act may inspire, but consistent boldness transforms you. A clear mind ensures consistency by reminding you of your values and direction. Together, they turn bold action from an event into a lifestyle. Clarity helps you avoid being reactive. Without it, you act out of impulse, constantly pulled by circumstances. With it, you pause, see clearly, and act deliberately. Boldness guided by reflection is stronger than boldness driven by impulse. Bold action also demands persistence. A clear mind reminds you that boldness is not about one grand success, but about enduring the journey. Persistence is boldness stretched over time, and clarity sustains it by showing you the progress you've already made. Clarity encourages simplicity in communication. A clear mind expresses itself with precision, not noise. This makes bold conversations possible, whether it's asking for what you need, setting boundaries, or standing for truth. Simplicity makes boldness sharper. Living boldly means walking into uncertainty. The clear mind accepts that not every answer will be known ahead of time. Boldness thrives in uncertainty because clarity gives confidence that you'll figure it out along the way. Clarity is the soil where bold dreams grow. Without clarity, dreams scatter like seeds in the wind. With it, they take root, nourished by focus and protected from distraction. Bold action is the harvest of clarity's discipline. Boldness requires forgiveness, especially of yourself. A clear mind doesn't cling to past mistakes because overthinking the past only paralyzes the present. Boldness says, I will try again. Forgiveness clears the path for courage. Clarity gives boldness direction in relationships. Instead of clinging to toxic bonds or endless drama, you see clearly what builds you and what breaks you. Bold action means stepping away from what drains you and stepping toward what strengthens you. Living boldly does not mean rushing blindly. It means moving with rhythm, a balance of thought and action. Clarity tells you when to pause. Boldness tells you when to leap. Together, they create harmony in movement. A clear mind finds strength in purpose. When you know your why, your how becomes less intimidating. Bold action becomes natural because clarity makes the vision larger than the fear. Purpose makes boldness unstoppable. Boldness is not just outward, it is inward too. It takes courage to face your own flaws, fears, and insecurities. A clear mind gives you the honesty to see them. Boldness gives you the strength to work through them. Living with clarity reduces the need for constant comparison. Instead of asking, am I ahead or behind? You ask, am I aligned? Boldness grows when you stop competing with others and start competing with hesitation. Clarity thrives in gratitude. When you appreciate what you already have, your mind stops spiraling in lack. Gratitude clears scarcity thinking, and boldness emerges from abundance. Gratitude fuels courage by reminding you of your strength. Bold action is not about controlling outcomes, but about controlling effort. A clear mind knows you can't command results, but you can command consistency. Boldness accepts uncertainty and acts anyway. Clarity is sharpened by stillness. In silence, you see patterns you missed, answers you ignored, truths you overlooked. Stillness clears mental clutter, and boldness acts on the clarity found in quiet. Silence is a hidden source of courage. Boldness is contagious. When you act with courage, others feel permission to act too. A clear mind recognizes this ripple effect and chooses boldness not only for self-growth, but to inspire growth in others. Living with clarity means respecting time. You stop wasting it on endless overthinking or trivial pursuits. Time becomes sacred. Boldness honors that respect by acting decisively. When you value time, hesitation loses its power. Clarity removes the illusion of control. It shows you that control is not about micromanaging outcomes, but about choosing your response. Boldness grows here because freedom lies not in certainty, but in adaptability. Bold action also requires self-compassion. A clear mind recognizes that you will stumble. Boldness forgives the stumble and chooses to continue. Without compassion, boldness becomes brittle. With compassion, it becomes unbreakable. Clarity turns boldness into service. When your vision is clear, your actions aim higher than self-interest. Boldness becomes leadership, the courage to step forward for the good of others. True clarity expands beyond the self. Boldness is sharpened by preparation. A clear mind prepares with discipline, study, and practice. Preparation removes unnecessary doubt. Bold action then feels natural, not forced, because it is built on readiness. Clarity demands that you filter distractions, social noise, digital clutter, and constant comparison fog the mind. Filtering them out creates focus. Boldness then follows naturally because clarity creates confidence in your choices. Living boldly requires faith in the unseen. A clear mind cannot predict every turn, but it trusts the journey. Boldness acts not because every step is visible, but because the direction is true. Faith and clarity walk hand in hand. Clarity is freedom from hesitation. When you know what matters, hesitation fades. Boldness becomes easier because there is no tug-of-war inside your head. Certainty of values leads to certainty of action. Bold action strengthens identity. Each courageous step says something about who you are. Over time, those steps build a story of resilience and strength. A clear mind curates this story, ensuring that your boldness reflects your true self. Living with clarity means focusing on contribution, not just consumption. A clear mind asks, "What can I give?" Not just, "What can I get?" Boldness grows here because giving often requires courage, the courage to share, to lead, to stand. Clarity and boldness together create peace. It may sound paradoxical, but a bold life is not chaotic when guided by clarity. It is peaceful because you know you are aligned. Peace is not the absence of movement, but the presence of purpose. Finally, living with a clear mind and bold action means embracing life fully. You stop postponing joy, waiting for certainty, or hiding from fear. Clarity clears the path. Boldness walks it. Together, they transform hesitation into living, not someday, but today. Clarity is like sunlight breaking through clouds. It doesn't erase the storm, but it shows you the way forward. A life of clarity doesn't guarantee ease, but it guarantees direction. And with direction, even storms become easier to navigate with boldness. Boldness is not about volume or aggression, it is about presence. A clear mind walks into a room and doesn't need to dominate. it simply radiates certainty. People follow clarity because it feels like stability in a chaotic world. A clear mind recognizes that time is your most precious currency. Overthinking wastes it. Bold action invests it. Each clear decision and courageous move is a deposit in the account of your future. Over time, those deposits compound into a life of meaning. Living with clarity means refusing to be ruled by fear-based questions. Fear asks, "What if I fail?" Clarity asks, "What if I grow?" Fear paralyzes. Clarity energizes. Boldness follows the voice that speaks of growth, not limitation. Bold action is born when clarity clears away distractions. Noise keeps you spinning. Focus keeps you moving. You cannot be bold if your energy is scattered, but when your focus sharpens, your courage has room to breathe. Clarity shows you the cost of hesitation. Every moment spent trapped in what if is a moment stolen from what now. Boldness understands this cost and refuses to pay it. The clear, bold life spends energy on action, not doubt. Living with clarity requires simplifying your environment. Clutter, both physical and mental, breeds confusion. When your space is clear, your thoughts follow. Boldness grows best in uncluttered soil. Simplicity nurtures courage. Boldness is strengthened by vision. A clear mind sees beyond today's problems into tomorrow's possibilities. That vision becomes fuel. Without vision, boldness burns out. With vision, boldness endures storms. A clear mind honors rest. Overthinking thrives in exhaustion. When you rest, clarity renews, and with it comes the energy for bold action. Rest is not weakness, it is preparation for strength. Boldness is not a one-time act, but a rhythm. Each day you wake with clarity, you choose to act courageously again. Over time, that rhythm becomes your identity. You no longer try to be bold, you are bold. Clarity invites acceptance. It reminds you that not everything can be controlled, and not every answer will be revealed immediately. Acceptance brings peace, and peace empowers boldness. You act without needing perfection. Boldness requires discipline. A clear mind creates the structure, and discipline ensures follow-through. Together they create strength that doesn't crumble under pressure. Discipline is boldness repeated until it becomes second nature. Living boldly means walking where others hesitate. A clear mind doesn't erase fear, but it tells you why it's worth moving anyway. Boldness isn't the absence of hesitation, it is the decision to move in spite of it. Clarity transforms confusion into confidence. Where once you saw only obstacles, now you see choices. Where once you saw risk, now you see opportunity. Confidence grows naturally from this shift, and bold action follows. Boldness deepens when paired with humility. A clear mind knows you don't have all the answers. Humility keeps you open to learning. Boldness then becomes wiser, not reckless. True courage walks hand in hand with humility. Clarity sharpens awareness of your strengths. Instead of drowning in self-doubt, you recognize what you do well. Boldness grows here because when you trust your strengths, you act with assurance. Confidence rises when clarity reminds you of your gifts. Boldness also teaches adaptability. Clear action doesn't mean stubborn action. You may take a bold step and find it's not the right one, but clarity helps you adjust, and courage helps you keep moving. Adaptability is boldness that bends but never breaks. Living with clarity means creating order in your priorities. Without order, life pulls you in every direction. With order, you act boldly in the right direction. Priorities prevent wasted courage. Boldness is a habit. The more you practice small acts of courage, making that call, speaking that truth, taking that step, the easier larger acts become. A clear mind structures these habits, so boldness compounds. Clarity strengthens patience. A cluttered mind demands immediate results. A clear one trusts the process. Boldness fueled by patience becomes unstoppable because it is not shaken by delays. Boldness grows when you stop apologizing for your dreams. A clear mind tells you they are valid. Courage says they are worth pursuing. Apologies shrink dreams. Boldness expands them. Clarity requires honesty about distractions. Each time you identify what drains you, you take back power. Boldness grows when your energy is not wasted on noise. Energy protected is courage preserved. Boldness also demands presence. You cannot act courageously tomorrow, you can only act today. A clear mind grounds you in the present. Boldness moves here and now, because now is where life is lived. Clarity clears away the fear of rejection. You realize that not everyone will approve, and that's okay. Approval is not your compass. Clarity is. Boldness grows from this independence. Living boldly means loving deeply. A clear mind knows that holding back love out of fear leads to regret. Boldness chooses to love openly, even at the risk of pain. For in giving love, you receive the fullness of life. Clarity teaches simplicity in goals. One clear goal acted on boldly is worth more than 100 half-hearted intentions. Boldness thrives on focus, not on scattered ambition. Boldness transforms identity. Each act of courage tells you, I am capable, I am strong, I am free. Over time, boldness doesn't just shape your actions, it reshapes who you believe yourself to be. Clarity silences overthinking by replacing endless analysis with trust. Boldness confirms that trust by stepping forward. The cycle repeats. Clarity frees, boldness proves, and freedom deepens. Living with clarity requires letting go of perfectionism. Perfection is the enemy of action. A clear mind accepts good enough to move as progress. Boldness says, I'll improve along the way. Boldness becomes wisdom when guided by clarity. Courage without direction is chaos. Clarity without courage is stagnation. But together, they create action that is both strong and smart. Clarity strengthens resilience in loss. When things don't go as planned, the clear mind finds meaning in the pain. Boldness chooses to continue, not because it's easy, but because purpose remains. Boldness grows stronger with gratitude. Gratitude clears bitterness and fills the mind with strength. From this foundation, courage rises naturally. Thankful hearts act boldly. Clarity brings freedom from comparison. You stop measuring your life against others' highlights. Instead, you focus on your own growth. Boldness is easier when you no longer carry the weight of comparison. Boldness celebrates progress, not just results. A clear mind recognizes that each step forward, however small, deserves acknowledgement. Boldness grows when progress is honored. Finally, clarity and boldness together create legacy. When you live with a clear mind and act with courage, your life leaves an imprint. People remember not your hesitation, but your strength. Clarity shapes direction, boldness shapes impact, and together they shape destiny. At the beginning of this journey, you may have come searching for a way to think more clearly, to stop getting trapped in endless loops of what if. But now you know the truth. Overthinking doesn't protect you, it paralyzes you. It takes away time, drains your energy, and leaves you stuck while life keeps moving forward. You've learned that clarity comes not from endless analysis, but from action. That small, imperfect steps are more powerful than flawless plans never executed. That fear fades the moment you move, and confidence grows only through doing. The real challenge is not whether you'll fail or succeed, but whether you'll choose to act or stay frozen. Because in the end, regret doesn't come from wrong choices. It comes from never making a choice at all. So take this with you. Simplify your thoughts, trust yourself, and move forward. Stop waiting for the perfect moment, because the perfect moment is always now. Act smarter, not slower. Live boldly, not carefully. And if this audiobook spoke to you, don't let it end here. Comment below with one action you're committing to today. Subscribe for more life-changing wisdom, and share this with someone who needs a reminder that overthinking steals life, while action creates it. Remember, your mind was never meant to be a prison. Clear it, free it, and let your actions shape the life you deserve.